betrayed WCW.
What in the hell is he doing here? Monday Night Raw, Monday Nitro. He is broken out.
Austin 316 says I just whipped your ass. Brett Screw Brett. The new world order, brother. Let's get this. We are at war.
Actually, the lights came back on.
It sounded better my way.
Yeah. Well, we're facts here, Vinny. I mean, there's no point in lying about these shows. They're plenty stupid on their own.
Monday Nitro 211, October 4th, 1999. Goldberg arrives in a rental sedan, and as you noted, the only good thing on these shows, Sid.
Not just Sid. Sneaky Sid.
Mm-hmm. Sid is tiptoeing through the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like Scooby-Doo or something.
Like the Pink Panther.
Pink Panther.
Yeah.
Ding, 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 ding. He takes note of Bill Goldberg's parking spot, and as he stands there, if you look close and listen and concentrate, you can actually hear the gears grinding in his giant head.
Yes.
He has a cunning plan.
I love it because dumb people have to think what they say what they think. 22.
He did say that.
22.
22.
22.
What I loved about this is everyone shows up in limos and Humvees.
Yes.
Goldberg just happened to show up in a piece of shit car. What a
It was
fucking
better than Sid's
coincidence.
piece of shit car.
A lot.
Goldberg had an average sedan.
I want to say it was a Cadillac.
All right.
Might have been.
Close enough.
It was a four-door. It was not a limo. It was not a stretch Hummer. It was much better than Sid's car last week. Did I not say last week that Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio should just wrestle on every show?
Yes. Yes, you did.
Dean Malenko and Rey Mysterio should wrestle on every show, and they wrestled on this show, and it was fun.
Yeah, let's talk about how Ray comes out and they note there are no other filthy animals in attendance tonight.
Thank you.
Really? Okay. No, I wonder why they're not here tonight. That's weird.
That's strange.
So during this match is going on, and they just casually announce, "Oh, by the way, what did they say? It wasn't we've heard, but we've been made aware that there's a new cruiserweight champion. It's Psychosis."
So the cruiserweight champion was Lenny Lane. Standards and practices put the kibosh on the gimmick, and so they just gave the belt to Psychosis and claimed he won. It's a phantom title change.
Did not know that.
Yes.
I would have thought they took the belt off Lenny Lane because he was horrible.
Well, they would have just pinned him then. Be a better idea.
All right.
So doing this fucking match, Shane Douglas comes down. I'm not making up this fucking stupid finish.
Forgot about this.
They're having a fun match. Shane Douglas comes down. He grabs the referee. He throws the referee's ass out of the ring. He attacks Ray, grabs a chain. Saturn runs down, takes the chain away from him. Saturn then grabs the chain and waffles Ray. They leave. Shane Douglas grabs the referee that he threw out of the fucking ring. He throws him back into the ring. The ref just sees Ray and the sharpshooter unconscious and calls for the bell. You'll never guess who this fucking referee was.
Nick Patrick?
Nick fucking Patrick. You know what? He is the worst referee in the history of wrestling. You want to know why? Because he's fucking terrible in storyline, and he's fucking terrible in real life. He fucked up the finish of the biggest match they ever did in their history. He fucks everything up. He's out of position. He doesn't know what's up. And in storyline, he's a fucking idiot. So, he gets the prize. Nick Patrick, the worst referee of all time.
Now here's where it gets good. Dean is supposed to look at the big screen to see what took place, the cheating that ensued. Dean is watching the big screen, but he's watching the camera that's on the back of his head on the big screen for about an 8 count before they finally start playing the replay. And it shows that, in fact, Saturn, on purpose, used the chain. And he was upset because they cheated.
Poor production values here in WCW. Disco Inferno versus Psychosis. So they're doing the entrances, and I'm getting up. I'm getting a drink of water, whatever. And I hear the announcers talking, and I immediately drop what I'm doing, go back and rewind to write down this announcement word for word. I feel like it's a satanic scroll I'm reading or something. This has been an exciting week, an exciting weekend for WCW. World Championship Wrestling this past weekend signed two of the most creative men in professional wrestling today. We are very happy to announce that Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara were recently signed to be a part of the WCW creative team. He went on to explain you could go online and chat with Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara about their new positions.
Yep.
Did anyone, and I do mean anyone, at home know who Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara were?
Well, he said that we probably knew all about it. That's what he said.
I asked my question again.
That's what he fucking
You, Brian,
said.
as someone who wrote a book on the death of this company.
No, nobody gave a shit. Of course not.
They are not even on the show yet, and we are already having to deal with repeated announcements stroking their egos.
Yes.
This is gonna suck.
Yes.
The match is fun. Psychosis misses the Tijuana Jam. Disco hits the Chartbuster. He wins the match. He's the Cruiserweight title.
So Psychosis loses his fucking mask, is handed a title, and then is pinned the next week on the show. Now, I will actually give WCW the benefit of the doubt here. It was not their idea to unmask the guy, and it was not their idea that Lenny and Lodi would be taken off TV. But it is funny that this fucking guy loses his mask, and the follow-up is he's handed a title, and then he loses it the very next week on Nitro. You couldn't even give the guy a little bit of a push? Couple weeks, maybe?
So, what was that?
I have no idea. You tell me.
Weird, strange noise came out of my throat just there. So, Disco Inferno and Psychosis while they're wrestling. The other thing I want to point out is I had texts from people at Raw who were... I was not there, but they wanted to let me know that wrestling fans remain smelly and fat. So, I'm watching this here match with Disco and Psychosis, and there's a really, really hot woman in the middle of the front row.
Yes.
And I think, what is she doing there? Something is up. I knew that this is not a wrestling fan. To be continued. Sid is on the phone, tells someone to come to backstage parking at Kemper Arena and spot 22.
And a little, he had the yellow pages open.
He did.
This time. For you youngsters, that's where you used to look up phone numbers.
He is so excited.
I would like to think it's the same phone book Bill was using last week in another city.
Probably.
The best part is he's all excited about this, and then some dude runs in and goes, "Sid, you're on." And he rushes.
Yeah.
"Oh, man, I can't be late, sir. I must get to the ring for my segment."
So the outsiders are in the crowd.
This was the dumbest fucking bullshit I've ever seen.
They come down the
These two
stairs.
fucking idiots.
They're double fisting beers. They've been double fisting beers all night, it's clear. Mm-hmm. Heenan goes to interview them. He asks when we'll see them wrestle again. And I thought, Kevin Nash lost a match that he was supposed to never be seen again, right? At least he would.
Yeah, and Nash says,
I'm retired.
With a big smile to tell you that this is bullshit.
Yes. Hall says, quote, yes. He points to Nash. He's working the retirement angle and nagging me to come back.
Yes.
And Heenan says, well, do you want to come back? It's a lot of fun. And Hall looks at him and says, have you been in the locker room? When it's fun again, I'll come back. And then Nash announces out of nowhere they're getting the band back together. They are so drunk.
This was a fucking burial 50 feet under of WCW. These guys just making a mockery of everything. Of course, the fans pop for them because it's Hall and Nash, so I'm sure they thought this was a giant success. Bobby is trying so hard, and they just fucking bury everything. Mm-hmm. And this is just the beginning.
And this, by the way, the spot they were sitting in the front row is just where that hot woman and her other hot friend happened to be.
The other,
Well, they're their
Basically-
dates.
Exactly.
the other
Yes.
one was a Nitro girl.
Oh, well, there you go. This led to...
Vinny, hold on a second.
Sure.
Our role on the show is to be fair.
Okay.
Okay? When I saw Sid versus Bryan Adams on the docket,
Yes.
I was like, I'm quitting. Okay? This is the worst fucking match you could possibly put together
It's way up there.
in 1999. And you know what? The bell fucking rang, and they did a high spot, and it was fucking fine.
Okay.
They ran a couple spots. Sid took a clothesline over the top rope to the floor. They didn't fuck anything up. Mm-hmm. It was totally fine.
This was, I was going to say, Brian, before you cut me off.
Well, you put your head in your hands and you look like you were about to slit your
Well,
own throat.
okay, I'm not... someone thought it was a good idea to book Bryan Adams and Sid in a match together, and they got lucky, and the match was watchable.
That's true. An idiot put the match together.
It's still the fact that it turned out okay does not mean it was a good idea to put the match together.
Oh, it was a terrible idea.
Yes, so my face palm is to whoever put it together.
Did anybody else shriek when Bryan Adams pile drove Sid with his awful, awful pile driver?
No, I knew Sid would be safe.
Does Bryan Adams know that a pile driver is supposed to drop a guy in his head? He always throws him down sideways.
Yeah, he's terrible.
Their brawling was hysterically awful, but of course it always is. Other than that, Bryan's right. They did not outright fuck anything up. Sid took the backwards bump over the ropes, landed on his feet, turned out okay. Adams hit a big giant suplex on Sid. Fun power match. Now, what did suck is that eventually, and of course, Charles Robinson's the ref. And
a bad finish, you say?
There was, in fact, a bad finish on a Nitro match, yeah. So Charles Robinson is Sid's hand-picked ref, and Rick Steiner's his hand-picked buddy. So Steiner just comes out and starts fighting with Adams, and the ref doesn't care. And the reason they just did this was because Sid wanted to hit a powerbomb, but Bryan Adams is big, and so they sent Steiner out there to assist him and just make sure Adams got up and down okay. So they cut to the outsiders who are booing this, by the way.
Sid's music is terrible. What is that? It's horrible.
Goldberg versus Jerry Flynn. Goldberg's doing his entrance.
This was one of the rare good things on the show because it's a fun, easy storyline. Jimmy Hart has a bunch of geeks, and they all want to beat Goldberg. And every week there's a different geek who tries and fails. And he cut this promo saying, Goldberg, you ain't a bowling ball that's going to run through my men like they're bowling pins. Jerry Flynn, you will fall to Jerry Flynn. And he's like serious about it.
Oh, yeah. He thought he had him.
So then they go backstage, and there's Doug Dillinger and all of the numbskull security geeks at the door of Goldberg. His music plays, and you just hear a... Because Goldberg's headbutted the door or something stupid. He's a caveman. Door opens, and he starts coming out. He starts walking in the ring. They're playing his music. And suddenly, Sid appears in the background. And he begins screaming at Goldberg during his entrance. Goldberg! I'm gonna get ya! Or whatever the fuck he's yelling.
That's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Goldberg is trying so hard not to laugh at this fucking idiot. Screaming like a fucking Sasquatch, all this bullshit. And Sid's just yelling at the guy. Storyline is Goldberg can't touch him until the pay-per-view. So Sid's being Sid. But he's an idiot.
Sid was the old man yelling at kids to get off his lawn.
Fucking hilarious.
We're like, get on my lawn!
And Goldberg goes to the ring and kills the shit out of Flynn.
Yes, he did.
My favorite part here was when, as he's firing up, Goldberg he reaches out and does the goozle. And Flynn sells it for a second, but then grabs his arm and goes for a triangle. And Goldberg, he tried to do the powerbomb spot, but Flynn's a big, big dude. And Goldberg did not get him up very high, but he made up for it by slamming him down so hard. Just tried to break the ring with Flynn's body.
I love when he was selling and then he made his comeback and the announcer screamed, "You can't hurt Goldberg." And I thought, you know what? There is only one man who can hurt Goldberg. And it's Goldberg. He punches his arm through that fucking window and slices his arm up. He tried to spear Chronic and hit the post. Hit his head on the post.
I forgot about that one.
There are so many times he fucking killed himself. But nobody else could hurt Goldberg.
No.
He headbutted that locker and then forgot his promo on Raw. The only man that can hurt Goldberg is Goldberg.
Bled Hardway on a promo.
So, spear, jackhammer win. People are jumping up and down for this win over Jerry Flynn.
It didn't matter who it was.
Goldberg.
Vinny. It was Goldberg killing these
And all I
fools.
can think was, remember back in the day, and by back in the day I mean a century or more of pro wrestling, when the guys who got the biggest reactions would then go on to get the most wins?
Yeah.
That was fun. Wrestling used to be cool. So, Goldberg cuts his promo.
It's a great promo. Goldberg
I forgot what a great promo Bill is.
He's not a good talker, but like, he's the best Goldberg promo that there could be. You know what I'm saying?
Yes, he's totally authentic.
You don't want him to be out there
He doesn't have catchphrases. I guess
eloquent,
you're next, but no.
You don't want him to be an orator.
He's not telling stories. He has no fables.
He wanted to be just a big, ugly dude.
He says, I'm going to kick your ass at Havoc. If you want, I'll
Yes.
kick your ass before then. I'm also going to get my title back. And that's it.
They cut to Hall and Nash. They're making a mockery of everything.
Of course.
These two idiots.
They're so cool.
Berlin yells at Brad Armstrong in German. Armstrong gets all rednecky in his face.
We're in America. Speak English.
Speak English. Which Armstrong can barely speak. Gene interviews Harlem Heat.
You know what's great about this interview? This interview was supposed to be Harlem Heat challenging Knobs and Sags.
No, Knobs and Hugh Morris.
Hugh Morris.
The Knobs Morris Express.
The Morris Knobs or whatever. Hugh Knobs. Anyway.
Humorous Knobs.
Humorous Knobs.
I don't know if I can
Fuck it, that's a great name.
write that down right
Hugh
now.
Knobs.
So they're supposed to go out there and they're supposed to
General erection?
bury the humorous Knobs. And instead, as they're talking, the fans began to chant for the Wolfpack. Now, in 2018, if you're the fucking Revival and you're supposed to go out there and cut a promo on the B team and somebody starts chanting for Drew and Dolph, you can't just start cutting a promo on Drew and Dolph.
No.
Right.
These guys, the fans start chanting for the Wolfpack, so Booker fucking grabs the mic and cuts a promo on Hall and Nash.
Yes.
It was a good promo. Then Stevie cuts a promo on him, and then when they're done, they go back and they cut their promo on Hugh Morris and Brian Knobs again. Professionals.
Yes.
Have you ever had neck bone,
Can't say that I have.
Brian? Okay. It must be good. Stevie Ray's always talking about it.
I don't know if it's a food.
I think you can
I better
boil it with food, and it will season the food.
I see. I'll look it up.
Yeah. So, anyway, the humorous Knobs attack.
These fucking idiots. Mm-hmm. Knobs hit Booker and Stevie.
So
Yes.
fucking hard.
Not only did he hit him so hard in the head with a chair, it was in the back of the fucking head.
Yeah.
He hit Stevie so hard in the back of the head that Stevie goes down and goes, ow!
Well,
This was not selling. Knobs, fuck you. You suck at your job.
Kevin Nash is
I
laughing
can't
his
tolerate
ass off at
this
concussions.
stupidity anymore. It's just stupid.
Worse than being overly violent, this fucking brawl went 5 minutes.
It went on forever.
Oh my god.
And then they follow up this forever brawl
yes.
with the fucking Nitro Girls search.
Kimberly and Spice, my favorite out there, to talk about the young Nitro hopefuls, or Nitro Girl hopefuls. They explain one of last week's contestants, Jamie, is a young thing with a great smile and a hip hopper. That's about what Kimberly sounded like saying it.
You know, in WWE, if there was a segment that did terrible numbers, they would give up on it.
Sure.
Even if they didn't really give it a chance. These fucking idiots. This Nitro Girls segment dies every fucking week. And they just keep going. It's not like it's Roman Reigns, where it's selling a bunch of merch, selling some tickets to moms. It's the fucking Nitro Girls search. Where the fuck are we going with this? Well, we get Stacy Keibler?
Yes.
That's cool visually, but like,
I'll say.
it's not worth these fucking terrible segments. Just fucking hire her and put her on TV.
I do want to note here, as they're interviewing the two Nitro Girl finalists from Kansas City, one is named Lavina, and they show her doing all sorts of dancing. Then she explains she lives in Lawrence, works in Vegas, has been a physical therapist in Kansas City for years. Mm-hmm. I rewound that just to make sure I got all that right. Can only imagine what this physical therapist is doing on the side in Vegas for 3 years.
She's well traveled.
I guess so.
Is that what they call it?
Goldberg goes to his car.
It's so quaint to see a car where you have a key. You put that key and you turn it.
Wacky.
Like, what the fuck?
Crazy.
It's like a landline phone. So
Weirder.
he...
I have a landline phone.
That's true. Goldberg seems... It's not strange to him at all. There's a camera crew following him as he goes to his car.
No, Bill has no idea what's going on.
He opens his trunk. He puts his bag in the trunk. Opens his door with a key. Mm-hmm. Gets in. Drives away. Bye, Bill.
See ya.
Brad Armstrong versus Kurt Hennig. The outsiders have left. The Wall punches Armstrong. Kurt wins it with a Hennigplex.
Fair enough.
Rey Mysterio tells Billy Kidman, who we were told is not there, Billy, your match is up next.
Yeah.
Right.
Billy comes running out of the shower in his clothes,
Right.
Yeah.
followed by
That's weird.
Tori Wilson in a towel.
It's a weird relationship,
Well,
but it worked for him.
Yes, it did.
So maybe there's a lesson to all of you.
you can watch Tori. Or
Wear
you can
your
watch,
clothes in the shower.
Okay,
You can watch Tori. You can watch wrestling. What are you going to do?
true. Sid is told he needs to move his car. No, he says, you move my car.
You knew exactly where this was going.
Of course you did.
Of course he did.
But you know what's so great about it?
That made it great.
Like, Sid comes off as such a fucking dork.
Yes.
This is 2 weeks in a row that he's been thwarted by Goldberg.
He thwarted himself this week.
Yes, he's an idiot. But you know what? These people that are writing the show since Eric left, they're making a lot of stupid mistakes, but even they understand. Protect Goldberg at all costs.
Yes.
Goldberg here is like Steve Austin in the Vince McMahon feud. He always is victorious. You get a tiny little bit of heat on him, he gets it back. He humiliates the heel left, right, up, down. If this were Raw, of course it would be Goldberg's car destroyed.
Yeah.
Sure.
Goldberg would have had his car destroyed for 2 weeks. Then they would have gone to the pay-per-view and Sid probably would have beaten the guy. These fucking guys understand he's the hero. He always wins. You rarely, if ever, get any sort of heat on him.
Billy Kidman versus Juventude Guerrera.
I don't want to accuse anybody of doing anything, but Juventude was altered.
He was juicy.
Oh, I'll say.
So the match isn't good. The crowd doesn't care. The announcers are just making shower jokes.
I think he put
The
tequila
women
in his
loved
juicy.
Kidman.
All right.
You want to know why?
He was in the shower.
Because Tori wants Kidman.
Sure.
So now the women want Kidman.
I see.
It's fascinating. The women never ever scream for Billy Kidman. All of a sudden, for 2 weeks, he's with Tori, and now the women are like, "Fuck, he's hot."
Yes.
And then Hoovy debuts the fucking juicy elbow.
Yep.
Was this before Rock made the comment,
Same night.
or did Rock make the comment first? Who did what as a response to the other guys?
It absolutely had to be Hoovy seeing Rock. There's no way Rock was backstage watching a Juventude Guerrera
Well, he
match.
wasn't watching it, but I mean, I'm sure that each side was watching the other side's TV. So someone could have easily come up to Rock and said, "This fucking guy stole the people's elbow," or Hoovy heard his name and decided he was going to pay tribute to The Rock. I don't know who did what, but clearly one was a response to the other.
So they do a bunch of stuff. Psychosis is out there doing stuff. Somebody else. Ray comes out. Wasn't there another person on Hoovy's side I didn't write down? Whatever. Ray, who is there to be Kidman's friend, distracts the ref so Psychosis can punch Kidman in the balls, and then Hoovy hits a Hoovy driver for the win. It's
Yeah.
a stupid, dumb match.
It went too long. It made the ref look dumb. It made the babyface look dumb.
It made Ray look
It made everybody look dumb.
beyond idiotic.
And then the babyface just cleared the ring afterwards.
Yep, didn't care.
So why didn't you just let him win?
I don't know. Moses is the WCW parking attendant. He was on last week's show, too.
I love this.
Moses...
There's no subtlety. There's no mystery.
No.
He parks in slot 22.
He does, and he gets out muttering about how Sid always treats him bad.
Classic.
He had... I forget if I mentioned this earlier or not, but they were in Kemper Arena. It was the Bret Hart versus Chris Benoit Owen Hart tribute match.
Finally, something good. Even though on this show, I was like, did it have to be on this show?
Yeah.
Fuck.
Harley Race does ring announcing. God bless him. He was terrible.
He's not a ring announcer.
No.
But he said it meant more to him to do this than 99.9% of all of the other,
Accolades.
thank you, accolades
Yes.
that he'd had in his career.
Yes. So they had an excellent pro wrestling match that didn't fit on this show at all. Honestly.
No, but you know what? By the end, they got into it.
No, I didn't mean... I just meant it was totally different
It
than
took
everything
20
else.
minutes.
It took 20-some minutes, and
Yes.
they built it slowly without having really... There was no heel or babyface in this match, but the intensity and the volume of the moves got higher throughout the match, and when guys tried moves the second time, they didn't work. So when Brett tried his backbreaker the first time, it worked. When he tried it the second time, Benoit flipped it over and hit it a very scary tombstone. So they're having this very, very good wrestling match. Like I say, it goes 23 minutes. And after both guys have tried their finishers and reversed their finishers, Benoit goes to the crossface. Brett turns it into a single leg takedown, and then from the guard, basically, it turns it into a sharpshooter for the win. It was awesome. Everyone goes crazy. The biggest thing about this match is it had a reaction that you almost never see for American wrestling at any point, in any company. And that it was the Japanese crowd reaction where it's not silence like they're not into it. It is quiet respect.
They were watching the match.
They were watching the match, and when something cool happened, they would get into it right away and quiet down and start watching again.
They looked like they were killing each other, but they'd never touch each other.
No.
Slow build.
Very slow.
Sold exactly enough. There was no overselling. There was no underselling.
No.
Made it feel like it was real, even though you knew it wasn't real. And
made you feel like it was important.
You know what's amazing is they just happened to book the Kemper Arena right before Vince Russo showed up. Because
thank God.
If they'd been in the Kemper Arena next week or the week after, I don't know for sure, but my guess is that Vince Russo okaying 30 minutes of wrestling was unlikely to happen.
Yeah.
So this was the perfect time to be able to do this match. Actually, on the show.
At the risk of being flamed, I didn't remember this as this wasn't the classic that I remembered it as. It was slow and plodding, and as soon as they got to the superplex spot, that's when the crowd finally popped and got into it. And the last few minutes were very, very good. It wasn't a bad match by any stretch, but
the bar has been raised.
Oh, fair enough.
We watched a New Japan show on Sunday that had at least 2 or 3 matches better than this.
That's true.
When it's this rewatching this with 2018 eyes doesn't feel revolutionary. It feels like a very easy 4-star match. But it's 2018. There's 4-star matches all over the world every weekend. So there's that. The other part of it is, if we're going to be totally honest, part of the appeal of this match is that it's 2 guys paying tribute for their fallen friend.
Yes.
And I don't want to feel sympathy for Chris Benoit in 2018.
That's fair.
So it's hard to get into it in the match for that reason. But it was a very good wrestling match. Hugs all around. The announcers are choking up as they're talking about it and they go to commercial. So it was certainly a win. Gene interviews Ric Flair and Hulk Hogan.
This is awesome.
I'm not going to quote it.
Some people hated this. Like Dave hated this.
Why?
I don't know.
I don't know. I thought it was great.
It's Ric Flair talking about how great Hulk Hogan is, and
Weird.
Hulk Hogan talking about how great Ric Flair is.
So weird.
It was awesome. It was so awesome. Flair says, I'm going to say my prayers, I'm going to take my vitamins, and for the first time in my life, I'm skipping the bar. And Hogan says, that's a lie. But they kept going on. Flair's going to show me how to do that figure 4. I'm going to crunch some bones. It was great.
Yeah, he's going to teach him how to... First off, Flair not drinking till Halloween Havoc, I mean, that was hard to believe. Hogan being able to apply the figure 4 leg lock was impossible to believe.
Sid goes to the parking lot where spot 22 is empty. Ha ha, he says. My cunning plan is unfolding.
I've got him now.
I got him now, he says.
I got him now.
I hope Goldberg and Sid feud for 10 years.
I got him now, and he rubbed his hands together like this.
He should have had a handlebar mustache to
and
twirl.
twirled it. Yes.
Dallas Page and Buff Bagwell had a 4-minute TV match. Page grabbed the ropes to block the blockbuster. He missed one cutter. He hit it the second time, and he won.
I liked the finish. The rest of the match was just there.
It was a match.
Bagwell did the job where he just lay in your back because he's pissed off that he had to lose.
I like the counter.
There.
The counter to the blockbuster that Page did. He held onto the ropes and didn't actually go down and hit the mat.
Mm-hmm.
That's clever.
Main event of Sting and the Total Package versus Hulk Hogan and Ric Flair.
Match was fine until the finish.
The announcers are talking about a 7 promo that I don't remember seeing.
No, it wasn't on.
Weird. I don't know. So it's funny watching this because they get the heat on Flair. So it's Flair versus Sting and Luger, which we've seen 700,000 times in our lives. But this time Flair's supposed to be the good guy. But it's every Sting Flair Luger match you ever saw. Every once in a while he'll do a fight back and tease for a tag and they'll cut him off. But otherwise he's getting press slammed. He's getting thrown off the top rope. He's throwing chops and Sting's no-selling him.
Flair was probably completely baffled. He probably couldn't figure out what was going on in their match. Had to keep remembering that he's supposed to be the good guy.
That might be.
Hogan had this giant leg brace on. He couldn't even move.
Yeah.
His comeback is he stood in the middle of the ring. It's like, this is what you're supposed to do, but he literally did it.
Yeah.
He stood in the middle of the ring, and everybody ran at him and fell down.
My hero.
And then he actually hit the ropes. I don't even know how. He hit the ropes, and he did the big double clothesline spot. Mm-hmm. And then out comes DDP The ref is distracted for the 50th time on this fucking show. There's so much convoluted bullshit.
Yes.
That all of a sudden, Luger is racking DDP.
On accident.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's the story. He accidentally put a man in the torture rack.
accidentally racked DDP.
Yeah.
You can look at nothing but this accidental rack. And then meanwhile, Hogan leg drop Sting. I don't even know how they set up the finish.
I don't care.
All of a sudden, Hogan's just doing a leg drop on Sting and pinning him.
Stop right there.
Yes.
Pinning him, you say?
Yeah.
There was a pin in a Nitro main event.
That was astonishing.
Who cares about all the bullshit? A man
care.
got pinned.
You know why I care? I don't even know what happened.
I don't either. I don't.
If you're going to do one fucking pin on Nitro in 1999, at least, don't have so much bullshit going on that I don't even know what happened to get the pin.
Maybe that was by design.
All of a sudden, he's just laying there, and Hogan drops a leg. Did someone trip Sting? Did someone hit Sting with something? Did Sting have a stroke? What the fuck happened where all of a sudden he was down and Hogan gave him a leg drop?
I don't have...
This is the main event of Halloween Havoc.
Yes.
Dude.
I don't have an answer to any of those questions.
And meanwhile, Luger is accidentally racking Paige
Yeah.
inside the wrestling ring. And Nick Patrick is standing with his thumb up his ass. It's baffling. He's just looking at him like,
He may have asked Paige if he wanted to quit. I'm not sure.
what the fuck's going... Is this guy in the match? I don't fucking remember. And then Sting, the heel, is pinned by the babyface Hulk Hogan, who's teaming with the babyface Ric Flair, and fans pelt the ring with garbage. And there was a pinfall. That's when I knew this place was dead.
And then the best thing I've seen since the end of last week's show. Sid walks up to Moses. Hey, Moses, where's my car, man? Moses hands him the keys and says, spot 22. It says, 22. 22? Oh, man! Moses, you idiot! Jesus! Goldberg, where are you? Why me? Why me? Why me? And that is when I realized Sid is me.
He is.
This is my reaction.
He was
whenever
totally you on this
anything
show.
happens bad to me. Someone around me must be their fault, and I have to ask, why me?
When he just texted, everything okay?
Tell her I apologize.
Then he about to kill himself.
No. I just got all excited. But
You know, it'd be best if next
you know
week
how loud
on
I am
Nitro-
every week?
If next week on Nitro, some fucking guy showed up with a piece of paper and Sid had to pay for the car,
Oh, the good payoff.
then he's you.
Literally.
Yeah, it's true. Actually, that did happen. So, yeah. Now, it's funny because, well, for obvious reasons, but Sid doesn't know why Goldberg did this to him. He thinks, Sid thinks he is innocent and Goldberg's just being mean.
Right. Goldberg had
That's
nothing,
awesome.
Goldberg had nothing to do with it.
Yeah,
He
Goldberg is
Yeah, Goldberg's
completely
had no
innocent.
clue. No clue
Goldberg
whatsoever.
literally just left the building. Sid fucked himself
Yes.
because he's a big dumb idiot.
Oh, God.
Classic.
I give the show a thumbs up just for that 10 seconds.
Fuck, it wasn't a thumbs up. Get out of here. That was the best thing on the show.
I will do that. You don't even need music. I can just do the finishes here.
I got the music anyway, so
may as well.
shut up.
The finishes on this show were submission after interference, clean pin for a championship, pin after interference with a crooked referee, pin despite interference, pin after interference, pin after a man's own partner distracted the referee, allowing him to be double teamed by interference, clean submission, clean pin, pin after botched interference.
What a bad show.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 interference finishes.
Wow, I can't even imagine. Wasn't there one last week that were all clean finishes, or was that Raw?
There was a Nitro 2 or 3 weeks ago that was like 7 out of 8 clean or something.
What happened? Well, that's it, everybody. These shows better improve, or I'm going to have to find something else to do. I can't take it much longer, so...
We have to finish these.
No, we don't have to do anything. I can do whatever I want.
I have a suggestion.
Yes, Vinny.
Delegate authority. I will review Raw, Craig will review Nitro, Brian, you can watch one or the other.
I'll think about it.
Right.
I'll think about it. But now that you want to do it, I'm going to make everyone watch both.
It's shocking.
Yes. All right, well, let's do Nitro. It was much better.
It was. There's no doubt about that. It was
But it's the last one before
before things changed. Let's just say that.
there is change.
WCW Nitro number 212, also October 11th, 1999.
I'd be happy to talk about Gorilla Monsoon here. So they did a video on both shows, and then, man, poor Bobby Heenan had to say goodbye to his friend Gorilla Monsoon. This was so sad. Vince is just doing the voiceover. He was the finest man I've ever known. That didn't do much for me.
No.
I'm sure he was a fine man.
Bobby, on the other hand,
Bobby
made me cry.
Really made you sad that his friend Gorilla passed away.
When he was speaking, the performer inside of him was able to turn on and perform and be there. And as soon as he was done with his lines and Tony was talking, Bobby just fell apart.
Yeah, but then Bobby asked him about the show tonight, and he was like, well, this Brett and Benoit is right back on again.
As long as he's talking, he's fine.
He's a professional.
When Tony's talking, he's quivering, his lips trembling. It's tragic. It is literally tragic to watch.
Well, he's probably remembering all those fun shows he did with Gorilla Monsoon, and he was sitting here next to Tony about to call Nitro.
That probably didn't help.
He said that they were going to post up Gorilla at the pearly gates, and it would now be known as the Gorilla position.
Mm-hmm. So Brett and Benoit arrive together. Lex and Liz taunt them.
God, it was so bad.
I cannot even bear to go into more
Liz
detail.
was so fake. Why did they ever make her talk?
I don't know. Dean Malenko and Saturn were bickering. They agree they both hate Shane. Saturn's defending himself from Rey. Revolution sucks.
They do. Not only do they suck, Vinny, they just kind of got started like a month or two ago. Right? How long has Revolution been around? A couple months?
About 2 months.
Now they're already breaking up again.
If they both hate Shane, why don't they get rid of him?
Because the reality is they don't both hate Shane. Saturn likes Shane.
I think
Saturn was
does.
lying here.
They all hate each other. They're all lying to each other. It's just such bullshit. By the end here, I actually just wishing, man, please just bring back the dysfunctional horseman. Which I realized by this point Pillman was dead. That'd be difficult. But Revolution's worse. Revolution is worse than the dysfunctional horseman. I didn't think that was possible. So Saturn and Rey Jr. are having a match.
Dude, they had a great match until the lame finish.
The match was awesome. My favorite part, I don't know if favorite's the right word, the most notable part, Saturn's on the floor. And when I say on the floor, he's laying on his back. His feet are pointed towards the ring. His head's pointed up the ramp. So Rey says, I'm going to hit this man with a somersault senton. So Rey comes flying down. Rey's ass lands on Saturn's face. I have no idea how Rey didn't break his tailbone. I have no idea why we couldn't see Saturn's brain. Just brutal.
This was not the most notable thing in this match, Vinny. They do a spot where they both go for a drop kick.
Yes,
That was great.
And sometimes you see two people try and drop kick each other and their feet hit and they both fall down.
Yeah.
Well, to quote Tony Schiavone, they scissored each other.
That is exactly what happened.
In quote, the you-know-where.
Yes.
To which Bobby said, the groin area. I laughed.
A flying
Very
scrotum
hard.
collision is what happened.
They scissored each other in the you-know-where.
They did.
Yeah.
So Shane runs down. Dean stops him. Kidman hits the ring for the DQ. Saturn is declared the winner. I can't keep track of who's on which team anymore, so I don't know if Kidman was trying to help or whatever. Kidman challenges Shane to a tag match. Dean is with Kidman and Rey, but he leaves with Shane, but he's yelling at Shane. Fuck this!
Vinny, it's just a very complex storyline.
No!
Involving a bunch of individuals who aren't sure about each other right now. This is real.
I fucking hate this so much. I hate this like you hate heel refs.
Oh, get out of here, Vinny. This was fine.
No.
It makes sense at the end of the show. Saturn is a heel, and Douglas is a heel. Malenko is a babyface, but Saturn is trying to convince him. And if you watch the show, last week there was evidence that Saturn was on Douglas's side. Saturn this week just tries to plead his case, but he's lying.
Why?
I don't know.
Fuck you.
Get out of here, Vinny. Fuck off.
If you
just watch a goddamn show where a guy got...
That was worse.
It was fucking far worse.
It's far worse.
So like this.
No.
Get out of here.
This match was weird.
Just break up if you're going to break up.
They do on this fucking show. You're getting what you wanted. Calm down. That's what this whole show is about, them breaking up. Right?
Sure.
Yes. Thank you.
This match started off with an apology, by the way.
A fake apology?
Yeah.
which Rey was too smart to accept.
Thank God.
Rey's the only smart one for now. Meng video.
Yes.
Let me guess. You thought it was dumb.
You know what we need here in 2018 that we could actually do in 2018? Meng versus Braun Strowman.
Yeah.
That would be fun. Flair and Arn were impressed with the Meng video, and in hindsight, I have no idea where that went.
Nowhere. Flair and Arn are just watching it, and Flair says he's the real deal. It's product placement for Surge or whatever that fucking thing was they were drinking.
I see.
Or their Horseman vitamins.
Kaz Hayashi versus Disco Inferno.
Is that what they call them? Vitamins?
They actually did have Horseman vitamins. We saw them in the...
Yeah, they plugged them on the NWA show this week.
Yeah. Wasn't a
Power
bad match.
Formula #1 and something like that.
Power Formula #2.
Was it Power Formula?
They did not put a lot of work into it.
It was something like that.
So it was not a bad match. It just rambled on forever. Only went 6 minutes, but it felt like 20. Disco won with a chart buster.
Nobody cared until the end.
Disco's hair does not move. Ever.
Hey,
It's amazing.
you're right. Meng versus Conan.
Okay, before that, I don't play modern video games,
What?
but every year I see the... Rob?
No, I was...
Oh, you
Head itch. Sorry.
he had an itch. He was scratching it like that.
Go like this.
Okay. Anyway, so every year I see the clips of the modern WWE 2K video games. And it's so good now that you can put them on YouTube and Granny thinks it's a real match.
Well, that is true.
That's right.
Yeah. This fucking video game was so low rent. WCW Mayhem. Mm-hmm. It was like Pong.
I wouldn't go that far.
Oh.
But
I'd go that far.
I was playing games then, and as I recall, Mayhem was particularly terrible.
it was pretty
Yeah.
bad, yeah. But not Pong bad.
Well, Pong was good, which is simple.
So Sid, as you recall, has had car issues in recent weeks.
I'll say.
So they said Sid smartened up. He did not drive his own rental car to the arena. He didn't get a limo. He didn't get a town car. He took a taxi. Sid took a taxi to the arena. I don't know, made me laugh. So May and Conan are doing this match.
Meng has been on, quote, an extensive tour of the Orient.
Of course. It's all choking and no selling. Mm-hmm. Conan makes his comeback, and he goes for a sunset flip. I do not have the physical or verbal talents to do justice what happened next. Suffice to say, Meng did the best Tongan death grip of all time and won.
Meng is swinging his hands backwards like this to try to keep his balance. And then suddenly he starts going like this, like he's humping something.
He's doing this.
And then he goes like this.
The funky chicken.
And he holds his hand in preparation for the Tongan death grip for a moment. He doesn't go right for it. He does his wacky kata, and then he pulls his hand back, and he gives Conan time to think, and then ha-cha! He puts it on.
It was so awesome.
Conan is pinned.
I watched it like 5 times in a row.
Oh, yeah, it was the greatest finish. It was the greatest performed finish of all time. I can't say it was the greatest finish.
Sure.
But as far as the performance put into the finish,
The execution.
I've
Yes.
never seen anyone greater.
It was fantastic.
That made the show.
Berlin and the Wall jumped Brad Armstrong. He no-sold this beating from 2 men and wanted more. That sucked. The Outsiders arrived in the crowd again.
Fuck. Bobby Heenan tries so hard.
He does.
He's out there, goes to interview them. He says with a straight face, they are the greatest tag team I've ever seen. It's like, are you fucking kidding me? Like,
Yes,
I know that's
yes, he
your
is.
job, but, like, have a little bit of credibility. Nash says he's still retired. Hall says his back is sore from bending over backwards carrying this company. They're just here to watch Goldberg. And they ask when they'll be back together again. When is the band going to be back together? Nash's response, which is so fucking hilarious, is July of 2012. Mm-hmm. That's a long time ago now.
Yeah, that's true.
And back then, that was the far future.
Did anyone do the research and see if the Outsiders actually had a match in July
I'm sure they did
2012?
an Impact. They had to have.
I like their consistency. They bring 2 drinks to the chair with them. Mm-hmm. Every time.
And 2 women waiting for him.
Yeah, that is true. Yeah. And these 2 women, actually, there was a hot girl in the crowd, and it was not one sitting by Nash or all.
Did we mention when they wished happy birthday to Dusty Rhodes?
No.
Oh, we did now. Goldberg is doing his entrance. Sid confronts him. They jibber-jabber a bit. And 41 minutes and 30 seconds into the show, Sid does the best cackle of all time. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. How did Sid win worst on promos?
Fuck if I know. You're lucky I'm distracted here because I would have put him in the Hall of Awesome, but now I've lost my mojo. Trying to figure out this 2012, 2013. Kevin Nash, you know where Kevin Nash was in 2012?
Of course I don't.
Golf course.
I'll give you all. I'll give each of you one guess, including Rob, because he's jumping at the bit here because he probably looked it up on the internet while we were doing this. Vinny, your guess?
Recovering from leg surgery.
No.
Was he in WWE at the time?
Hey, what's your answer? You don't ask the question.
WWE.
Rob.
Well, Vinny kind of took mine, but I was going to say recovering from quad surgery.
And no, in fact, he was in NXT.
Really?
Excuse me.
Yes.
He was just developing.
He was in NXT.
Scouting
he was
talent?
the guest match commissioner. And
What does that mean?
did some other stuff as well.
He was scouting talent.
Yes.
Well, you got to learn how to work.
Yeah,
Face
main
the
event
camera.
style.
So, yeah. Goldberg versus Horace.
Nash helped DX take down Damian Sandow. It was a very, very...
I think I actually do remember that now.
Yeah.
What they did, like play it on Raw and stuff. Yeah. So when Goldberg comes out to wrestle Horace, I was like, why are they wasting my time with this? Then I remembered, it's Goldberg. It's never a waste of time.
Furthermore, why does Goldberg need a police escort?
He doesn't, Craig. That's his gimmick to make him unique.
It's not to protect him from the fans
Okay,
or anyone else. It's to protect other people from Goldberg.
I see.
Yes.
Okay.
So for the first half of this, it's Goldberg versus a heavy bag. Horace is just a large piece of meat in there for Goldberg to punch and kick and throw. It was beautiful. Horace did get some offense. Goldberg, to be fair, I am not a jiu-jitsu black belt like other people in this room, but I'm pretty sure Goldberg's armbar sucked.
Yes.
Yeah. Goldberg hit a spear.
Don't tell him I said that.
A spear. No, don't worry.
fair.
He hit a spear and a jackhammer and he won. The spear and the jackhammer were great.
What was also great is he gorilla press slammed these huge man with ease.
Held him around for a while. Yeah, Goldberg's awesome.
What does everyone think about Sid going to the Hall of Awesome?
I'm okay with it.
We got 3 people here, so...
Can we do just Sid's promos?
Nah, it's either he's in or he's out. We don't have to put him in. I mean, there's more Sid coming.
There's more Sid coming.
Yeah.
I think I'd have to abstain from now.
All right. I'll wait. He was pretty goddamn awesome on the show, taunting Goldberg, though.
Last 2 weeks, he has entertained me.
3 weeks now.
3 weeks
Yeah,
of 3
yeah.
weeks of intense entertainment.
Yeah.
Entertained.
And we'll get to his matches later.
I wasn't wowed or blown away, but I was entertained.
Oh, I was wowed. I was blown away. Gene's interviewing Hulk Hogan. Asks him about internet rhetoric. Gosh. Hulk doesn't want to talk about it. Runs down Sting. Vows to kick his ass. His music plays. He cuts it off and says, wait. At Halloween Havoc, I'm going to get the last laugh, brother. He leaves.
Doing intense research here.
Nitro Girl segment.
Can we just get Stacy Keibler already and just get it over with?
We had Amy.
What in the fuck are we waiting for here? Is this an angle or is this real?
I think
I'm
it's
pretty sure
real.
they're real.
Jesus,
Nitro
God
Girl
almighty,
audition.
this is horrible television.
We had Amy and her whacked out eyebrows from Birmingham.
The worst.
And Tiffany, who I thought was pretty cute, from Biloxi. And she likes Junkyard Dog and Teddy DiBiase. She's a Bill Watts guy. Bill Watts lady.
I could not care what any of them look like. I'm over these segments. They've got to end. You hear me?
David walks in on Tori wiping something off Billy Kidman's face, and he's upset.
No, hold on a second. Fuck, Vinny. I knew you were going to do this. David walks into the room. How do you miss this? David walks into the room, and Kidman is putting his pants back
That's true.
on.
That is true. That is true.
Okay.
I'm a slow typer, dude. I got a lot going on.
He is putting his pants back on.
Because they were off.
And
you see.
David is worried about what's on his face?
Well, that's what happened.
How about the fact that he was in the room with your woman with his fucking pants off?
Maybe they read the script wrong.
Who gives a shit what's on his fucking face? Get out of here, Craig.
Maybe he's just a nudist. He's naked all the time back
Tells him to go talk to his dad. She's busy.
there. Yeah, she totally blew him off.
This idiot is not getting the hint.
No. He will not get it later either. Knobs versus Stevie Ray in a street fight. So,
Hey, listen. Listen.
go ahead.
This was a hilarious mess.
Oh,
Yes.
it was.
It was fucking bad, but it was funny. I laughed. It was awful, but it was funny awful. This is the kind of stuff I want out of WCW.
So
Don't just bore me. Entertain me with how bad you are.
between the two guys in the match, that's fair. Between the two guys in the match and Booker T and Hugh Morris and Jimmy Hart, there's 5 dudes out there running around whacking each other with weapons. In the middle of all this, it becomes very important that Hugh Morris trip Stevie Ray.
Fuck.
So Brian Knobbs is on his hands and knees. And Stevie Ray goes to like pick him up and grab him by the head, but then he just freezes. And nothing happens for a while. And Anderson's like, what's wrong with Stevie Ray? At this point, Brian Knobbs screams at the top of his lungs, Hugh! Hugh Morris! Hugh! Hugh! Hugh Morris! He had to clarify. There was some other Hugh who wasn't listening.
Well, maybe he was concerned that someone would think he was yelling, you.
And eventually...
Or maybe he thought they were yelling that something was humorous.
I thought he was actually yelling you. I was trying to figure out what the hell was going on. And I realized he's trying to get Hugh in a position for the spot. And the spot is... Hugh's at ringside. Stevie hits the ropes. Hugh grabs his feet. Stevie kicks him or something. Or Booker T hits Hugh or whatever. Mm-hmm. It was not important at all.
All I know is, why do we have to distract and or bump the ref in a street fight?
I don't have an answer.
That's great.
Like, we got to make sure the ref doesn't see something that's happening legally because it's a street fight and you can do anything you want. God, I hate this show sometimes. But this was still funny.
Brian Knobbs coming off the second rope with a trash can, and everybody moves, so he lands on the trash can and compacts it. That was funny.
So eventually Knobbs wins after Jimmy Hart hits Stevie with a trash can. Shane Douglas calls out Revolution.
Okay, I'll admit the first thing I wrote here was, this storyline is awful. Okay? But at least they were wrapping it up here.
I guess.
Shane, first off, Shane comes out and he says, it's time for the Revolution to come out and air their dirty laundry.
They didn't wrap it up here. They had a match later.
Would you shut up and listen? Shane says it's time for the Revolution to come out and air their dirty laundry. They're playing their fucking music when they come out, and they won't shut the music off. So Shane is screaming into the mic at the top of his lungs to try and talk over the music. So Dean starts screaming at Shane. Shane starts yelling at Benoit. Shane's big... He's so upset that Benoit had the temerity to ride to the building with Bret Hart. If you can't ride with us, why are you part of the Revolution? We must engage in transportation together in order for this unit to work. Benoit says, fuck you. He takes his shirt off and he leaves. They're done.
Foreshadowing his actual departure from the company.
He's out. So they're all screaming at each other. The two remaining members, because we're already out of member, Vinny, because it's wrapping up here on the show. 2 remaining members walk out on Douglas as well. One guy's already out, Chris Benoit. He's washed his hands of this shitty fucking unit that did nothing for them.
Did you mention that Shane was mad at Dean because Kidman ran in, which meant Saturn won by DQ instead of getting a pin?
Yeah. Hey, you know, you got to get that W, Vinny. You got to get that P.
It's Dean's fault that Kidman ran in?
Well, who knows? He's a heel. He's not looking at things rationally.
The Parka versus Brad Armstrong.
What a fucking bizarre match.
I'll say that again. La Parka versus Brad Armstrong.
La Parka, the current day LA Park, against Brad Armstrong. And they just had a match.
Just had a match.
His walkout gear was awesome.
La Parka went to a Guar concert, got some extra gear, put that on. So the announcer's like, what's that on his trunks? And I look up, and La Parka on his trunks has Solo Para Timbonis. So I went to Google Translate. Only for Tim Bones.
Huh?
That's what it said.
Okay.
Made me laugh. So Brad's like down selling, but he's not flat on his back. He's on his side. And La Parka does a moonsault and comes down on his legs. Oh, gosh. I was certain there was a broken leg here. It looked so bad. There wasn't. Armstrong continued.
Timbonis?
Timbonas.
Oh, Tim. Okay, keep going.
Brian's investigating.
There's a ref bump. The Wall beats up La Parka. Brad beats up Berlin twice, but turns his back and still gets laid out with a neck breaker. Mm-hmm. He ends up on top of La Parka. The ref counts 3 as Berlin is standing in the middle of the ring and posing. This sucked!
That doesn't fucking help me. Timbonus. Plural and feminine of Timbone.
Timbonus.
What did it say in his tights?
Solo, para, Timbonus.
Okay, well, Timbones would be the plural of Timbone, which would be fat-bellied.
Okay.
Only for fat bellies.
Yeah.
He's not lean.
Maybe he's a chubby chaser.
He's bones.
He is bones. It's true.
Yeah. He's looking for some meat to put on them bones.
See, aren't we all?
He's looking for some meat to put on them bones.
I understand this one, Brian.
Thank you.
Your message is getting through.
Thank you.
Kurt Hennig is hitting on Tori Wilson backstage. David Flair tries to interrupt. Kurt has the best response ever. Mm-hmm. Hey, Flair, buzz off!
It was even better before, where he's trying to hit on Tori, and you just walk in on the conversation where he says, I have 2 CDs.
He said that too. He says, hey, Flair, buzz off. Don't peek over my back fence. I'm doing business here. I laughed, and I laughed, and I laughed. Now,
Kurt Hennig is awesome.
he was so awesome here.
Oh, by the way, I was so busy looking up Timbones that I didn't really get a chance to talk about the finish of the La Parka match.
We did.
So, are you telling me that Berlin hit Armstrong, who he's feuding with a reverse neckbreaker? Armstrong then fell on La Parka and won.
That's what happened.
You're telling me that happened?
Yes.
Okay. So, how in the fuck is Berlin supposed to get any heat if his interference led to his rival winning? I fucking hate interference finishes like this. But, make it make sense. Why the fuck would I care about watching them wrestle now? He beat him up and helped him win. Mm-hmm. So dumb. This is almost as bad as the Bulldog finish, but not even close.
So, back to Hennig and Tori and David. Tori repeatedly made it explicitly clear here she did not want David around and wanted him to leave.
Look at her.
Well, no, but the point is, David wouldn't leave.
Yeah.
So when Kurt
at her.
When Kurt
This is David Flair we're talking about.
When Kurt beat him up, it was deserved.
Kurt
Hennig was chivalrous here.
Run over him with a car, and he'd be trying to get back with her.
She fed the stray dog.
I get it.
Yeah.
I've been the stray dog at times before, but anyway. Yeah. David had this beating coming. Kurt Hennig did the right thing. Berlin versus Norman Smiley. Norman had a great comeback here.
He actually did a very good comeback. He wiggled his Johnson.
He did.
Fans were into it.
And it worked.
Yeah.
People love the big wiggle. So you threw me off my game.
Then he's on medication.
I threw you off your game.
I have no game.
You
By the
said
way,
it.
Norman Smiley from Great Britain, Berlin, Germany, crowd chants USA.
Yeah. He's from Great Britain and found fame in Mexico.
That's right.
He's from Mexico City.
That's right.
Yeah. So Berlin hits a jumping knee. That was not anything Kenny
They
Omega
chanted
was proud
USA
of.
because they wanted this match to be over.
Berlin won with a neck breaker.
Maybe that was Russo chanting it. Because this was the week that he did the famous interview about how I'm an American. I don't want to see Mexicans. I don't want to see Japanese guys. I want to see Americans.
Okay. Gene interviews Flair. Flair runs down Hennig.
He runs down Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. Mm-hmm. Oops.
You call him that?
Yeah.
Oops. He ran down DDP, who has a match with the pay-per-view with, and then he mentioned, isn't DDP married to Kimberly?
Gene knew that he had to answer the question, but he didn't want to have to answer the question.
That's right.
And so when he says, isn't DDP married to Kimberly? Gene's response was, yes. Because he knew where this was going.
And so Flair offered to either fuck and or pile drive Kimberly.
Or both.
Or both.
Would be my guess, looking at his body language.
He said, I'm going to give her one of these. I went, ugh.
Did you get that, Rob?
Over and over again.
I did.
Okay.
Over and over again, that's what he did.
He was out of his mind. Completely, totally out of his mind in this promo. Sweating like crazy.
Saturn and Malenko versus Kidman and Rey, and the fucking Revolution.
Vinny, I really liked this match.
Fuck you.
I thought it was a very, very good wrestling match. I will admit that Kidman is an absolute moron for taking an overhead belly-to-belly from Saturn over the top to the floor.
Yes.
Not even the padded mats. He landed on the ramp.
Yeah.
You dumb shit.
Like on a side, too, I
don't
think.
care what the guy's doing with Tori. That's a stupid fucking idea.
Yeah. So, Saturn and Malenko are not getting along. They're bickering. They're shouting at each other. They're shoving each other. They're breaking up their own pins. But you know what? They're still kicking Rey and Kidman's asses. Because Rey and Kidman are total fucking geeks.
Well, they're smaller men.
Pussies, then. Weaklings. Wow. They're just getting destroyed.
2018, you can't say that anymore.
They're getting destroyed by these men who can't even function. Everyone came off like a total loser in this match.
No one's a loser, Vinny. They're all winners.
Crowd liked it more than I did. So Shane nuts Kidman. He throws a chain to Saturn. Saturn hits Kidman with a chain. Saturn pins him. Fuck this.
Oh, man. I like this. I thought it was a good match. In fact, I wrote a great match. Great story. Everybody was awesome. Douglas and Saturn are clearly heels. Malenko's a babyface who was appalled. He rips up his shirt.
Dipshit.
He quits the Revolution afterwards. He's out of here.
Finally. Only took him 3 weeks.
Yeah. There was a moment in this match. You were so busy just being blinded by your rage.
Yes.
That you weren't doing your job and watching and
accurate.
analyzing the fucking match.
It's my job to be enraged.
Rey is down on the ground. And he's supposed to be on all fours. I don't know whose fault this was. But Saturn is going to give Rey an Oklahoma roll. He's going to jump over him to do the roll. Okay. When you do an Oklahoma roll, your opponent needs to be on their hands and knees.
Right.
Okay. Rey has one knee down, but he has his other leg extended straight out to the side.
Oh, God.
Fucking Saturn does this move. I was watching it, and I went, oh, my fucking God, you just destroyed his knee. And they go for the cover, and Rey kicks out, and seems fine. But if you watch the match, he's fucking grabbing at his knee from that point forward. That's probably one of the 9 million ways that he fucked up his knee, because it's always something stupid where you get hurt. A fucking Oklahoma roll blew out Rey's knee here. Go back and watch it. It's brutal when you see it.
Sid Vicious versus Van Hammer.
Oh, and you're going to bitch about the previous match?
Last week, we had Sid Vicious versus Bryan Adams. It's clear they're going through the bottom of the roster trying to find the worst possible Sid Vicious match. But you know what? They keep being okay.
Okay. It would have been okay if it had ended in 3 minutes. I think it went 19. It was way too long.
Fine.
When it was over, I had no interest in Sid versus Goldberg. It's how bad it was. It wasn't terrible, but it just... First off, I'm watching the match, and I just hear this weird noise in my house. And I'm like, who's here or what's fucking going on? I realize it's Sid breathing. I literally had to pause it, and the sound stopped.
Yes.
And then I turned it back on, and it was like, ugh. It's just weird caveman breathing that he does.
Yeah.
Fucking just, they wrestle. And then Hammer is like beating on Sid. And I'm like, why is Hammer beating on Sid? Then Rick fucking Steiner comes down. They have to double team Hammer to allow Sid, who is going to be facing Goldberg, to get the win. So fuck you! This one sucked!
Fine. I accept that. If they need Rick Steiner out there so Bryan Adams and Hammer can get powerbombed without Sid killing them, that's worth it. A recap of the Owen Hart tribute match. Play the 7 video.
Well, Brett was given last week off, but he thought it would slight the memory of his brother to not have a match in Kemp Arena. And they made history last week. They will do it again this week by teaming up together. I liked it.
So 7's video is he's a ghost or something. And
He's a creeper. He's looking in the windows of children, Vinny. What do you mean a ghost?
Or a pedophile.
He's a creep.
Yeah.
I couldn't watch it. I thought of my daughter.
He made eye contact with the
on the
child
second
inside.
floor, thankfully.
Their hands touched on the windows, and the little boy turned the camera, and his eyes were black. Now,
Good idea, Brian.
Go ahead.
can you see out the window on that thing?
No, but I need to listen. If I hear, we're all hitting that room. You understand? It's going to be the new revolution.
Gotta scare that kid.
Me, you, Craig, and Rob.
Well, yell at each other?
Well, we do already.
Yeah, all right.
Mostly you.
So it's supposed to be scary as hell and creepy and disturbing. And as this
I can't see the window here.
As this
Blinds are closed.
child's face is peering into the camera with his black eyes, the West Texas Rednecks music plays.
Can you see how creepy that is? You ever use one of these?
No,
Yeah.
I have no baby.
You're always expecting to look into it and you like see a little elf run across the room. You know what I'm saying? Rob knows. Yes, Rob.
As long as she doesn't get up and start pointing at something random, it's fine.
I don't even want to hear it. They see things at that age, Vinny. Yeah, that we don't see.
I see.
Yeah. They say weird things too.
We see a lot of weird things.
I say weird things.
Isn't
You don't
that
want to
just
know,
what I said?
Vinny. You don't want to know.
I kind of do.
No, I don't.
Ric Flair versus Kurt Hennig.
You imagine what your cats would say if they talked to you, Vinny?
Yeah, they say, fuck you, give me my fucking food.
They'd say some weird shit too, let me tell you.
They're cats, dude. They say horrible things.
If they could talk, they'd all be in therapy, wouldn't they?
The cats?
No, the fucking dogs. Your dogs would be in therapy, not my cats. Oh my
I wasn't
God.
talking about you, douche.
Excuse me. If you
What are we talking about? What's happening?
Greg is trying to explain that if cats could talk, they'd be in therapy. But dogs are way more neurotic than cats. Am I wrong?
I'm not getting this argument.
Don't even say yes. Get out of here, Vinny. Do you have a dog?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, they're more neurotic, aren't they?
They're more needy.
Okay. Therapy. Go on, Vinny.
You're so smug.
No. I am not J.J. Dillon.
So Ric Flair and Kurt Hennig had a match. Neither of them cared.
Hey, it was pretty good.
Well, it's Kurt Hennig and Ric Flair, so it's going to be good even at 40%.
Although this was the other match this evening where Kurt Hennig is trying to pin Ric Flair. He's got his feet on the fucking top rope.
Much like Matt Hardy.
Literally, no, Matt Hardy was at least on the middle rope.
No, it was on the top rope.
Well, he's on the fucking top rope. Not only is he doing a handstand to try to pin Ric Flair, Curly Bill is on the apron holding his legs on the top rope.
Yeah.
This motherfucking referee doesn't even see it.
Yeah.
I can't believe it wasn't Nick Patrick. I literally could not believe it wasn't Patrick.
Maybe he was in disguise.
No, it was that other guy.
So David Flair runs out, yanks Curly Bill off the apron. Hennig is distracted. Flair wins with the schoolboy, and it's Flair, so of course he holds the tights too. Did we mention that at one point in this match, Ric Flair hit Kurt Hennig in the balls, and Hennig sold it by doing a moonwalk?
He did.
That happened.
It was impressive.
Yes. Recap of Lex hitting Brett with a baseball bat. This led to the total package and Rick Steiner versus Bret Hart and Chris Benoit.
What the hell happened to the return of Scott Steiner? He returned a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, he cut a promo and he's gone again.
And we never saw him again.
So I looked down on the screen. I can see there's very little time left in the show. Mm-hmm. And we had a technical difficulties disclaimer when the show started. And it aired again here. I thought, oh, clearly they've lost 5 minutes in the main event.
No, Vinny. There was one tiny audio and one tiny visual glitch.
10 seconds of...
And so as a result, on the bottom of the screen is the following words, which are in all caps, okay? I'm going to read the entire thing that's written on the screen here during these glitches, all right? Presented in the most complete form possible due to original production technical difficulties. Do you know how much of the screen this took up? This was so much more intrusive than the actual issues that I wouldn't even have fucking noticed had they not had that giant crawler. I couldn't even watch half this match.
If they hadn't thrown that up, I just would have figured we had some kind of buffering problem.
And then,
anyway,
I don't know if you noticed, but Chris Benoit put Rick Steiner in the crossface, and Bobby Heenan said, and I quote, "Rick Steiner will never quit." Because it was a shout-out to Gorilla. That was Gorilla's favorite line. The babyface will never quit anytime they're putting a hold. He killed every hold that every heel had.
Most of the abdominal stretch, they did not use A-plus perfect technique and grapevine the leg behind their own
It
leg.
didn't matter. You could put any submission on a babyface, and Gorilla Monsoon would insist, he'll never quit. Never quit.
Anyway, Sid attacked for the DQ in 4 minutes. Goldberg makes the save. speared. He goes to spear Rick Steiner, who of course is a big, strong, tough, dangerous man. And Rick says, I'm going to make this look as violent as possible just by launching myself straight up into the air. So Goldberg charges. Rick jumps up. Goldberg spears him out of midair, just sends them both catapulting across the ring. It was awesome.
DDTs himself on the head.
He did.
Actually, that was in the last match. Never mind.
So Sid gets a mic. He's taunting Goldberg. You can't put your hands on me. You can't do nothing. This, that, this. And Goldberg says, fuck it, and spears him.
That was awesome.
It was great.
It actually was completely awesome because they've done this for several weeks now. Sid's taunting him here. He's taunting him there. If Goldberg touches him, he forfeits his title opportunity.
Yes.
Finally, Sid is standing right in front of him with that stupid mic, cutting a stupid promo. And Goldberg turns to leave, and then he just says, fuck it. He spears this fucking guy. And Sid was Frankenstein that got shut down. Like, they brought him back to life with electricity, right?
Yeah.
Okay, well, whatever happened
batteries ran out
to turn him off. Yeah, that's exactly what happened. Sid's just laying there in dead man's position. I thought that Goldberg was going to, like, jackhammer him. But Sid's so dead that Goldberg goes down like he's going to get him. And he just stops and goes and poses on the rope, and the show goes off the air. And, of course, there's a cliffhanger now.
Yes.
Is he going to get his title match?
This was not the go-home show.
No.
At the time, I thought it was. I realized I was mistaken.
Yes.
This makes more sense with at least one more week to go, because now next week is, can Goldberg get his match back?
No, next week is Russo shows up, and everything just goes in a disarray.
Jeez.
He
starts
Whatever you
starting
enjoyed here, you're never going to find out where it was going to go, if I recall correctly. You won't, because they have that tournament.
There's that tournament coming up, yeah.
That fucking tournament. Oh, my God.
So he comes in, he scraps everything, and he just starts over.
Yes. I believe he strips everybody of all the titles. Wow. I don't actually remember exactly what it was, but like that was one of his things that he liked to do was, let's just start all over again with everything. Huh. And I know we have a tournament for the world title, so clearly they're not doing this one. I know Medusa's in it twice. I remember that. There's like 32 men. They're all like a minute long, these tournament matches. Yeah.
Brian, do you have my music ready?
Aye.
So dramatic.
The finishes on this show were shitty DQ and a great opener. Clean pin, clean submission, clean pin. Pin after shenanigans in a street fight. Pin after interference against both dudes with a third man standing in the ring. Clean pin. Pin after chain shot by three dudes who all hate each other. Pin after interference. Pin after interference. DQ after interference.
That's it, baby. Mm-hmm. So yeah, that's the Raw Nitro show. Next week, it all changes. Russo shows up on Nitro, and he's long gone from WWE. And I seem to recall that WWE still sucks for a while, but then it starts to turn around.
Well, there's no evidence that it does not.
Yeah, like in the winter months, turns around. So anyway, that's it, everybody. Check out
Monday Nitro number 213, October 18th, 1999.
Russo has risen, I wrote.
Yep. A limo arrives. Sid gets out with some geeks in suits. Anyone ever looked less comfortable in a suit than Sid, including myself?
I'm pretty uncomfortable usually, but
It's up there.
So it was in fact the debut of the debut of Vince Russo on Nitro, or writing Nitro, and you can tell because how did it open? Pyro and Ballyhoo.
Hey, it was Pyro and
Also
Ballyhoo.
Pyro and Ballyhoo. Juventude Guerrero wrestled Evan Courageous for 2 minutes, and then Bret Hart walks out and just starts cutting a promo.
Yeah, but you know what? This was the first match of the Vince Russo era, and it was Hoovy versus Evan Courageous. I would not have expected that.
No.
Okay.
I realized he was going to have a dude walk in.
Well, he had to have somebody, he couldn't do something
But do you know that Hoovy and Evan did not know that Bret Hart was going to walk in?
What?
I'm not even a
That
little
is
bit
why
surprised.
when Bret Hart walked in, they just stopped and they stood there and they stayed in the ring. I guess thinking maybe somebody will tell us what to do.
Well, no one did.
No, they stood there like absolute morons
So,
and attacked the guy. They didn't even complain.
no, well, they complained a little bit.
A little.
I bet you
At
they
least we're
complain
asking
later.
questions, yeah. So, Bret was sure to mention WWF. That says he came here to fight Hogan and win the title. Said a couple of new guys show up, and the politics start, and they tell him he'll never get his match with Hulk Hogan.
Yeah, because the storyline that you don't know, because nobody bothered to tell us on the show, is that Russo I don't know if he sent Hulk Hogan home or Hulk Hogan doesn't like Russo, and so Hulk Hogan has gone home. Hulk Hogan has gone home.
That was clear, actually, by the end of this.
Yeah, but like they didn't tell you that.
No.
You had to figure that out.
No.
The show sucks.
It does.
Already.
By the way, Hogan challenging for the world title at Halloween Havoc. This is the go-home show.
No, he's not now.
Well, he was.
He was.
At the time the show started,
But now-
and they did not imagine that's a new match by the time the show went off the air.
No, now he's gone home.
So they never mentioned his name. They never mentioned the title match at Havoc. Several hundred times they mentioned the main event as Goldberg and Sid of that show. So Brett's rambling on in the middle of this match when Sting comes out to ramble on in the middle of this match.
Got a new shitty haircut.
It's awful, isn't it?
Oh, fuck, it was terrible. It's like when Shawn Michaels cut his hair after he retired in 98, and he cut it like to chin length.
The page boy thing?
Oh,
Yeah.
horrible.
Yeah. I'm not sure what Sting has. It's a starving artist look, I guess.
It's something like that.
So he says promises do not come true in this business. Nobody cares Brett was screwed because everyone gets screwed in this business. And then he offers Brett a world title shot tonight. And so he leaves, and Brett leaves, and they go to the announcers. Is the match over? Did the wrestlers ever leave the ring? Last I saw they were still there.
It just ended.
At some point they just leave.
Did you say they'd never mentioned Hulk Hogan on this show? They mentioned Hulk Hogan many times.
Did they? By name?
Yeah. He said Brett said, I came here to fight Hulk Hogan.
That's a good point.
He said that. And then Sting said, if you can put your attention to Hulk Hogan aside, and he went on.
Yeah, they did here. Maybe it's the next 4 hours they didn't mention him. So the announcers outright say Vince Russo and Ed Ferrara are here.
From the WWE creative team.
Yeah. Now, can you imagine like tuning into Seinfeld and Jerry turns to Kramer and says, hey, Kramer, we hired a new writer for our show. He's writing your dialogue right now. No, because it would be stupid.
Well, Vinny, you're right, but the whole idea should be that there can be a creative team in wrestling if wrestling is real.
They can do
They're
promotions,
responsible
nicknames.
for booking the matches.
Sure.
Here's who's going to fight who on the show.
Yeah.
Here's where we're going to go. That's not how they did it on the show.
But yeah, that point is mute because later on that's all out the window.
Well, more to the point, there are creative people in promotions of all sorts that you could have here, but why would you announce it? Just if their product is so good, let the product speak for itself. And I know the answer is because you had to satisfy the ego of these two men.
Well, I also think that everyone's on the internet.
Yeah.
And so everyone will think
that was clear by the end of the show.
My God, the show will turn around with these two men.
Mike Tenay interviews Sid, who starts to speak and then says, my lawyers have told me not to comment. Another limo arrives. It's Goldberg. Sid's lawyers tell him there's no problem.
Sid has to explain to his lawyers what's in the contract.
Yes. Well, he did later wonder why he was paying them hundreds of dollars an hour.
Sid has to explain to his lawyers what's in the contract.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
3 of them.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, do we screw him and how?
Can you imagine?
Disco Inferno versus Vampiro with Lash LaRue on commentary.
Okay, whoa.
Yep.
What?
Yeah, I'm not making this up.
Vampiro is facing Disco Inferno, and fucking Lash LaRue is not only doing commentary, he is getting a championship match at the pay-per-view.
Yes, who has he beaten?
Fuck if I know. That's what I'm asking. What's going on here?
Russo walked through the back door, took one look at the guy and said,
Yes.
you're the number one contender.
You're definitely an American. I'm giving you a championship match.
And then he went out there and he emphasized his Cajun accent.
Yes.
Oh, God, that was terrible.
Yes.
So the match went 1 minute, and Disco Inferno pinned Vampiro clean. That had to suck.
Yeah.
Just start packing your bags and fill out your resume there, man. And
But
then,
actually, he got a big contract from Eric.
okay.
So they decided they were going to rip it up and give him a contract for less money. So he wanted to quit.
Oh,
And I believe that they ended up talking him into staying because
he sticks around for a while.
WWE didn't want him.
Yeah, well. Yeah. So the match goes a minute. Disco wins. Lash beats up Disco. I use the word what, W-U-T here twice.
I prefer an A.
What?
Yeah, you heard me.
Okay.
It's not woot.
It's what?
What?
Zbyszko interviews Goldberg. Larry, by the way, is a pretty good backstage interview guy on the show.
Well, what are we comparing him to? The red fucking rooster?
Yes.
Okay, well, yeah, he's better than that guy.
Yeah.
Goldberg promises in 6 days he will beat Sid with a jackhammer. We had a 7 video. tells the Kid, our reign of terror and darkness begins on the 7th night. And he says, fear me you will. Stop me you cannot.
You know, it's
Yoda.
Going back to Goldberg and Sid here. I mean, they're doing a good job building it up, but they're doing such a good job with Sid. To me, I don't know if anyone else cares, that I feel it's too early for this to culminate. Like, Sid should win the world title and hold it to, like, Starrcade, and then Goldberg beats the guy. There ain't shit on the line on Sunday. No. They're just going to end Sid's reign of terror and his fake streak and everything else, just like because it's Halloween Havoc. This makes me sad. I feel they could have gone further with the fella.
There's nothing else they got going on.
Yeah. Well, they're going to have a tournament with 85 men and women.
I see. Speaking of which, Tanae interviews Medusa about her evening gown match. She does not want to do it. She's a world champion. She's a professional.
She was teleported from 2018. This is bullshit. I'm a wrestler. I'm not going to do these stupid matches. I'm disgusted. I'm finished. There won't be a match tonight, she says. I'm done.
Yeah.
Excuse me. There won't be a match tonight.
Yeah.
I'm done, she says.
That's what she said.
Okay.
Yeah, she was not a good promo.
I'm going to hold her to that.
I don't know if that was her what
No, it was a terrible promo.
It was a terrible promo.
It's hideous.
Nitro Girl search continues.
Finally. Stacy Keibler has arrived.
Yes, she has.
It is so funny because they've been doing a Nitro Girls search forever. Okay?
Like 6 weeks.
Finally, they show up here, and here's Stacy Keibler. It's her and this girl named Chiquita.
Yeah.
Which, by
like
the way,
banana.
You know what's funny is, like, for weeks, they gave you the girls' first and last names. So if you wanted to, like, you know,
stalk them.
be a creep on Facebook,
Sure.
you could.
Sure.
Now they've just only given their first names, one of which is Chiquita and one of which is just Stacy. Okay? So they do the videos for both girls. And Chiquita's very pretty, but she stood no chance against Stacy. And the contest isn't over, right? We got to vote. Okay. Before this fucking show's even over, Stacy is with the filthy animals.
Yes.
What?
I don't know.
Well, those charming, I'll tell you.
They must be charming. What if Max did marry her?
Now, for those of you that don't get it, Bagwell comes out here.
Tori, my bad.
Yeah, Bagwell comes out here, and he's just being all goofy.
This is not on my format, the announcers say.
He announces that he is the chosen one. Now, for those of you that don't remember, it's because Russo did some interview on some fucking show, maybe in WCW Live, and he really put over Bagwell. Now, they didn't air any of that on Nitro.
No.
They presumed that all of the millions of people watching were hardcore WCW Live listeners, and so they would have any clue what this fucking guy was talking about here. I forgot till I went back and looked it up. I had no idea what he was talking about.
Didn't you write a book about this?
I did, but fuck.
This would be a revised copy.
I could write a book about every Nitro. You understand what I'm saying?
Sure.
Actually,
I'd write a book about every Nitro.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit that falls through the cracks.
Yeah.
Going back to the video section where they actually showed Chiquita and Stacy dancing. Stacy is the worst dancer ever, and not...
What?
Oh, she's horrible.
Oh, she's been dancing since she was a child.
Okay,
Badly,
anyway,
apparently.
Oh, get out of here.
She
man.
did that, like, she jumped and threw her leg real high and then kind of just fell.
There's lots of different types of dancing.
I just thought it was funny that they fired
She didn't
Ricky.
twerk.
She did, actually.
Doesn't mean she's a bad... Actually, you're right. Killed my argument. Damn it.
They both did.
It's true.
It's just funny because they fired Ricky Rackman for talking about no ugly chicks, and then this girl that can't dance is getting a job. Because she's hot, Brian.
Yeah. Hello. What does that have to do with Ricky Rackman?
Are you saying this? I don't. Never mind. I'm not going to say anything.
Good.
So, what I like is Buff comes out, and it's supposed to be it's going into business for himself.
A shoot.
He hits the ring. Kimberly leaves, and Stacy and Chiquita, who have no idea what's going on, just stand in the corners and smile. No one told them what to do, including Kim.
Nobody was smartened up.
No. So everyone talked about the internet for a while. I wrote here Goldberg interviews Mona. I don't think that's right. This is a Biscord.
What?
Yeah, that's on me. I'll own this. Somebody interviewed Mona. She is all happy about this evening.
She is?
Yeah.
She was a robot.
Well,
You made up emotions based on what she said.
she said it was a wonderful opportunity to climb the ladder.
It is a wonderful opportunity to climb the ladder.
With a big plastic
I am
smile on
very
her
excited
face.
for the evening gown match. I cannot wait.
No, that's fair.
She was already dressed and ready to go.
So, like, she's mid-sentence, and suddenly cut to Kimberly stalking David Flair through the hallways. Just walking through the halls of the building, shouting David Flair's name.
Why?
We never did find out.
Unclear.
Why was she stalking David?
We never found out.
I mean,
there was never a good reason.
I mean, I presume there's a Flair DDP match at the pay-per-view, but, I mean, they did a shitty job building that up if that's the case.
Yeah. Sid discusses the rates he is paying the lawyers, insists they call him Mr. Vicious,
He says,
which honestly is not a bad name.
let me get this straight. You're charging $300 an hour. I'm not cheap, but $300 an hour? Yes, Mr. Sid. And there's 3 of you. Yes, Mr. Sid. That was it.
Yes, Mr. Vicious.
Mr. Vicious. Yeah. He goes, aha, Mr. Vicious. That made him happy. That was worth his $900 an hour.
Meanwhile, Goldberg put on tape. Harlem Heat versus Conan and Rey Mysterio Jr. Outcome, Tori,
What
Kidman,
a
and Eddie.
fucking mess.
There were multiple disasters in the show.
It's a mess of a match. We got Eddie, Kidman, and Tori doing commentary. Eddie's horrible. Kidman's okay. Tori's a mute.
They are trying so hard because Tori was out there. They wanted Tony so badly to be Jerry Lawler and horn out all over her. He couldn't do it. He's Tony Schiavone.
Well, there was a great moment early in the show when they announced there was going to be an evening gown match later, and Bobby and Tony were so excited to be sitting ringside for this match. They went to high five, and they missed.
Yes.
I'm assuming that was all Bobby because he was Bobby Heenan, but it worked out.
Positive.
Yeah. Let's see. So, meanwhile, the humorous knobs are backstage watching on a monitor.
Thank God you remembered that.
As they're wrestling here, Kidman says Booker T is a great worker.
Yeah, and a great performer.
So there was some kind of brawl at the announce desk we could not see. We could hear it, but the camera never showed it. And then finally, 2 men pin Stevie to win the titles. Right?
Yeah.
And the announcer's reaction
Yes,
was...
Vinny, that's what happened.
I'm making sure. I may have made a mistake in there somewhere.
Well, you know, there was a championship change.
Yeah.
And the people cheered.
Yeah.
And
but
it
the
got a big
announcer's only
pop.
concern was, what does this mean for Halloween Havoc?
Goddamn good question.
They didn't care about the news, only what it meant for Sunday's show.
Well, that's supposed to be the big show.
Kimberly Page and her nipples tried to seduce David.
God, he's just ogling her tits. I mean, he wasn't even...
He's a human being.
He wasn't even, like, trying to be a gentleman.
No. And she gave him her hotel key.
She says, DDP's out of town, and I'm lonely. Here's my... Actually, I had a key card for the hotel. I couldn't believe my eyes. I thought it'd still be an old skeleton key, because it was 99. I guess they had electronic key cards by then.
It's the future.
Fuck, it was. Felt like it was today.
Meanwhile, interviewing the new tag team champions, there's a party atmosphere in Philadelphia tonight.
Stacy's there.
Stacy's with the filthy animals. They're dumping water on Conan and Ray. Everyone's happy. Tori is also there. The humorous knobs arrive, say, we are going to still get a title shot at Halloween Havoc, right? And Conan basically says, we're partying now. We'll figure that out later.
Yeah, he accepted.
I guess he accepted.
He accepted.
I'm just happy the new champions were, in fact, happy to be new champions. That's a good thing.
Well, you'll be sick of it when there's 18 of these celebrations on every show for the next 3 months.
That's a valid point. Mang versus Hugh Morris. Here was where they were really, really pushing how Sid Goldberg is the main event of Halloween Havoc. The outsiders show up in the crowd.
Ugh.
These guys are the worst.
Hugh hit some top rope elbows but never went for the pin, and so Mang just got up and hit the death grip and won. Sid was walking backstage, and Goldberg was watching Sid walk backstage.
And then Sid kept walking and came out.
Yep.
Cool. We needed 3 fucking segments for that.
Yeah. So Sid rips up the contract. Goldberg runs out. He goes to throw a spear. Sid pulls one of the lawyers in the way, and Goldberg spears this dude. His neck, as it turned out, it hit the ropes. From the angle, the hard cam angle, it looked like his head hit right into the turnbuckle. And he collapses, and the angle his head was at, it looked like detached from his body.
Absolutely.
I thought this man was deceased. And I had forgotten that a lawyer died on Nitro in October of 1999.
Then he stood up.
He got up. I felt better.
Fuck, he was Austin Aries.
He was, actually.
Just jumped right up and got the hell out of the way.
So
I actually liked this angle because the whole thing was Sid, the contract said that if Goldberg touches Sid, before Halloween Havoc, there will be no match. So last week, Goldberg flipped his lid and he speared the guy. So Goldberg was coming out here and he ripped up the contract. He says, there's no match. My lawyers are here. It's in the contract. You touch me. There's no match. So Goldberg, like a caveman, runs down to the ring. He's all mad. He goes to spear Sid. He hits the Geek. The Geek jumps up, probably distracting Goldberg. Sid boots him with his dress shoes, power bombs him, stuffs the contract down his throat, and threatens to kick his ass at Halloween Havoc.
He's, I'm going to kick your ass. I'm like, you just did.
Yeah. But he's going to really kick it. And kick it bad.
I see.
But I thought this was a great little angle. Sid winning worst promos in '99 is one of the great disasters in the history of the Wrestling Observer newsletter.
Absolute crime.
I'm appalled. I'm sickened.
So Sid leaves. Goldberg is coming to as he's making his way around ringside. The outsiders laugh at him. They throw their toothpick at him, so he fires back, and he punched Kevin Nash in the face.
Yep.
Way harder than Moolah hit May on Raw. So there's a big brawl, and the outsiders get ejected, and we get like 5 minutes of security leading the outsiders from the seats through the crowd to the outside. Nash says, I'm sick. Hall doesn't want to leave. It just goes forever and ever and ever. Tenay interviews Brett. He says he'll take any shot he can get. Vows to win tonight. And if it's up to him, he'll defend that title against Hulk Hogan at Halloween Havoc. And then Sting attacks him and they brawl. The outsiders have not moved. It's been like 15 minutes now. They're in the exact same spot.
Nash says these broads paid $1,500 apiece to hang out with us.
Yes.
And then he said he had a cold and he was drinking cold medicine, but it was probably whiskey.
Was it wrecked? Is that what Granny said? Cedric Alexander, he's wrecked.
You've
Sounds
actually
like it.
been thinking
Wrecked.
about this for a half hour.
That just came to me.
It's amazing how your mind works.
Wrecked. I think that's what she said. He was wrecked. Which ironically was what Mick Foley was when he found out that his book had been put in the trash can. He was wrecked.
So they cut inside to an empty hallway. You can't see anything. You can just hear Goldberg. Sid! He comes in. Vicious! Just to clarify, he's looking for Sid.
In case there's any confusion.
Yes. I'm not making anything about this next segment up. This actually
Fuck,
happened.
let me read what I wrote, and hopefully you can, help me.
I'll do it again.
Rick Steiner versus Berlin.
Good, yeah.
The Wall hits Rick with a chair. Berlin gets the pin. Went about a minute. Rick beats up Brad Armstrong afterwards. It's Berlin, Brad Armstrong Sunday.
Sure.
Did I basically get all of it?
But you left out the part where
Everything?
Brad hit the ring to do nothing but glare at Berlin. So Rick grabbed Brad. The Wall swung a chair. Not sure who he was aiming for, but he hit Rick. So it is both Brad's fault and Berlin's fault and the Wall's fault that Rick got pinned. And I'm thinking Rick Steiner should murder all three of these geeks.
Yeah.
He picked one.
He only killed Armstrong.
He murdered Armstrong. Just beat him and 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 beat him. Dragged him backstage. I was sure there was more to come, but no. This was the build for Berlin and Brad Armstrong, while Rick Steiner does not have a match on the pay-per-view.
Yes.
So after spending like 15 minutes of TV time dealing with the outsiders being ejected, they're just back.
Yeah, they snuck
They're
in.
tiptoeing in. The
By the
cameras
way-
can catch them. Security can't.
What was the fucking point of this?
I have no idea.
Was there any payoff? Did I miss the payoff?
I'm trying to think.
I don't think there was a
I
payoff.
don't remember.
They dressed up as the Villanos. That's the last thing I remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Kevin Nash is drinking scissor.
Touche. He was. Kimberly goes to her hotel.
Oh, my God.
She goes to her room. There's somebody taking a shower already. She says, "Oh, baby, I'm here. I'm glad you're getting warmed up. I'm getting ready too." And then she removed her trench coat.
Good Lord.
I was finished.
That quick, huh?
You were wrecked.
I was wrecked. I was wrecked.
Spent.
Spent, demolished, devastated. Get that thesaurus back open, Rob.
Yeah, we'll get it here.
All of those, just on sight of this lovely young lady. So, much to her chagrin, she's pouring champagne. I think she had some kind of...
Okay, stop right there. What was her plan?
I have no
She
idea.
was slipping him a Mickey.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. She was going to...
She had some kind of pills. I think
That's
I
right.
think the plan was to...
Well, now I'm even more...
But she thought it was David.
Now I'm even more incensed.
Why?
So she was going to take David to the hotel, pretend like she was going to fuck him, put a shit in his drink, and he was
Right.
going to get knocked out.
That was the plan, yeah.
All right. So now you're telling me that Rick
I have a solution.
showed up instead,
Yeah.
and he didn't drink?
No. No. See, this is where
This is bullshit.
No, this is
This
where
is a bigger bullshit than that Bagwell
this
thing.
is where years of Ric Flair partying came to.
Oh, he's
fruition.
immune?
It did not affect him at all.
That's possible.
You've got
All
no
right.
liver.
I'll
You
take
can't be hurt.
that.
It was nothing to it.
I will
it was
accept
We're
that.
kind of glossing over the part where David Flair looked at this key card and said, I should give this to my dad.
Yeah.
He'll do a much better job than I will. I mean, he
Well,
would,
he
but
probably would,
never
yeah.
mind.
There
So-
was a missing vignette somewhere.
Yeah, so Flair pops out of the bathroom, fully dressed, by the way, with a shower running. That's weird. He's having the time of his life. They can have a party. What did he say here?
Dude, he ran out. He started jumping on the bed.
the
The boy couldn't make
the
it.
boy couldn't make it, but Space Mountain could. And then it ends, so I guess Kimberly just said, well, any port in a storm.
I guess. She was lonely.
I guess.
Flair was there.
As far as we know,
Yeah, and he gets back to the building. I mean,
he
he
made it back to
wasn't...
the building.
Yeah, this was...
He did not go all night and go a little longer.
This was just
probably
weird.
drove. Probably drove.
Probably true.
Unaffected by anything that he consumed.
Goldberg still looking for Sid. He couldn't find Sid, so he killed the Insane Clown Posse instead.
Apparently, there's something about this Goldberg didn't like, and so they wanted to get rid of ICP. It was like a 1-second segment. Mm-hmm. They showed up, he beat their asses and laid them out.
Well, if he was going to beat their asses, it would take 1 second.
And didn't they get released like 2 weeks ago or 3
Yeah,
weeks ago?
they're still around. They're-
Well, obviously.
They must be great in job interviews. Because they tend to lose jobs and then get rehired quickly over and over again. Zbyszko interviews the total package. This was awesome.
yeah, this was good.
Lex had to pretend he was not shook.
Yes.
Because he's wrestling Goldberg tonight, who tonight is the scariest Goldberg of all time.
Can we start, though, Vinny, by saying what Larry said to him, which was the following line. Goldberg has left all the clowns laying. That's what he said.
Yeah.
He wasn't lying.
And
He
then
has left all the clowns laying.
he said, in
This
25,
scared Lex Luger.
in 25 glorious years, I wouldn't want to be you. And he hands the mic to Lex.
He's going through them clowns, and you're next.
And Lex he's stuttering, he's shaking a bit, but he says, I've got the muscles. And he looks at his giant muscles. I can take Goldberg, right, Liz? It's awesome. It's like the best thing Lex Luger ever did, putting on this blatantly false front
Yes.
of not being scared.
It was very good.
It was awesome. The women were preparing for their evening gown match. David Flair versus Kidman. So Tori is now in Kidman's corner, which has David all pissed off.
There's a spot early in this match.
The avalanche.
David is so fucking terrible. He throws Kidman into the corner and just runs at him with his chicken chest.
Yes.
And, like, he hits him. And everyone in the crowd
Oh!
starts laughing and booing at this guy.
It's so bad they're angry.
Oh, I was
They were
dying.
in Philadelphia. That was part of it. But
Fucking A, it was terrible.
so the match continues. Tori flashes David. He covers her up. And
yeah, Heenan says, you should be hit from behind.
Kevin hits him from behind. He hits the
Shooting star.
he hit the powerbomb thing first, and he goes for the shooting star.
Good Lord.
And his knee comes down on David Flair's face.
He didn't have to sell. He just reacted.
He just screamed and grabbed his face.
It's time to retire that move, dude.
Made sure his eyeball was still in.
You're going to kill yourself or somebody
They
else.
kill somebody else. So yeah, David Flair having an awful, awful, awful day if you've not been paying attention.
Yeah.
The Outsiders are now looking for Goldberg. They ask Gene. There's some bullshit. Flair arrives back at the building. I'm not making this up. He's pulling up his pants.
I guess that answers that question.
I guess it did.
I don't know why it takes so long to pull your fucking pants up.
They probably hit the car nude and dressed on the way.
I see.
He's been doing this for a while. Medusa versus Miss Mona in an evening gown match. So what this actually was about 3 minutes of Medusa just tearing her apart. It was awesome.
Well, Medusa comes out in like this
A dress.
sort of a dress. It was definitely not an evening gown.
Something like a tennis player would wear.
Yeah, it was like a
exactly,
tennis
yeah.
outfit,
Yeah.
and Mona's in her evening gown, and they just have a fucking wrestling match there. German suplexes, and then Medusa KOs the ref. Fuck if not. And then she goes for a German, and there's no ref. I'm like, that's your fault. Gets a chair, she's whacking her, and they end up outside, and Mona just yanks her dress off.
Mm-hmm.
And Medusa is in her sports bra and her booty shorts. She's furious. She grabs a mic and tells everyone behind her. It's the backstage people, I guess.
Yeah.
They can kiss her ass. I thought she was awesome here.
Yeah, Medusa's great. And at this point, the announcers ask, is this thing over? I don't know. That was the end of the evening gown match. Bret Hart versus Sting.
So,
What a weird fucking match.
well, here's the thing. This was a long match after all of that bullshit. And so there was no way for the fans to get into this until like the very end. They had a fine match. It wasn't bad.
No.
It was technically good.
It probably went, I don't know, at least 15 minutes.
It went through a full quarter-hour segment and more.
For at least 12 of those minutes, there was no... They were both heels, really. So there's no one to cheer for. And finally, Sting just hooks a sleeper, and they lay on the mat and say, I'm going to lay here until people start cheering for Bret. And it was the first time they actually cheered for either man. So Bret gets his sharpshooter, Sting gets the ropes, and then Elizabeth comes out.
Elizabeth comes down to ringside, and Tony Schiavone says, and I quote, I tried to read her facial expressions. Is she concerned? I was like,
that's an
she has
inside joke.
one face, dude. I don't know if she's concerned. She always looks like that.
Concerned.
So she takes the ref. Lex hits Bret with a baseball bat in the leg, and Sting hooks the Scorpion. Bret immediately taps out. A weird match. Flair has found his son, but he's very confused. Where's Tori? He says, what's going on? Why are we not in the locker room? Kim is just out in the boonies of the hallway somewhere. And David has to look up at his father and say, Kidman beat me up. Ric Flair's reaction to this. He freezes, time pauses, he takes a deep breath, his head dips down. What? He can't process it.
His response is, Kidman can't beat you up. David's like, he beat me up. He can't beat you up.
I laughed and I laughed and I laughed. Now he's outraged. Kidman and Conan and Ray and Eddie G throwing his jacket around. They're going to take care of this.
Who's the baby faces and who's the heels?
Who the fuck knows?
Jesus Christ.
Dude, that got, by the end, it gets worse as far as muddying that up.
I think... I don't know.
I have no fucking clue.
If
I'm
Kidman
lost.
is the baby face, he is such a jerk.
I think the filthy animals are supposed to be
The filthy
heels.
animals, I'm pretty sure, are supposed
Sure.
to be heels.
And David...
So is Revolution, but they're still feuding.
David and Rick are like baby faces.
I think they are, yeah.
Okay.
That's the best I can do. Although, well, we'll get to that. The outsiders are walking around. It's now been like an hour. Clearly, security does not watch Nitro.
Now they have the Viano masks.
Yes. No, that was like after the break. There were 2 back-to-back outsider segments.
Okay.
Yeah. It's time to talk about La Parka and Buff Bagwell.
You know what's funny is this is virtually the exact same thing that happened on Monday.
Yes.
Sunday.
On that Impact, on Sunday on that Impact pay-per-view.
Yes.
The difference is they had a much better match.
They sure
number
did.
one.
Yeah.
And the difference is it is in fact 2018 and this was 1999. The world was not ready for this shit. Like, the idea of Austin Aries jumping up after the finish and yelling at Don Callis, I mean, it's dumb. This was like 1,000 times dumber.
Yes, it was.
Because of the time and the place and the context and the whole story around all of this.
Now, this is one of those things, we talk about things I forget. I had forgotten this until it started, and it was like, I remember every single thing that happens here. Because it was notorious, and it happened exactly as I remembered. So, on Thunder, but this was set up, by the way, Buff Bagwell very randomly turned on La Parka on Thunder. But I don't know. So Buff comes out. He does not have his hat. He's not doing his dance. He's not smiling or flexing. He's pissed off. There's boring chants immediately. So Buff keeps dominating the action, but keeps letting La Parka up. And when La Parka does stuff, Buff lets him do it, but kind of sort of no-sells it. Certainly does not sell it well. And finally, Buff does a thing in the corner. He does a half-assed version of his wacky dance. He drops to one knee, gestures to Parka, come kick me in the head. Parka kicks him in the head. Parka pins him. Buff is up before Parka is. They cut backstage to show everyone laughing and cheering. And Buff goes to the announcers, grabs the microphone and says, hey, Russo, did I do a good job for you?
Yes, that's what happened.
So he returns to the ring. He lies down again. And he's getting up. Who should make his return to Nitro but Jeffrey Jarrett, who lays out Buff with a guitar. Says, last night I was in Cleveland on pay-per-view. Tonight I'm here live on Nitro. Talks about the stroke.
I've got your stroke right here. Grabs his nuts, his slap nuts.
Oh, God, yeah.
Forgot about that, didn't you?
I did.
This was fucking atrocious. And it's just ridiculous because it's like, we're supposed to believe that Buff was out wrestling La Parka for real. But then he would let La Parka do some stuff.
Because they was told to.
But then, like, every now and then he'd forget it was supposed to be fake and he'd sell.
I guess.
And then eventually he took the kick and laid down for the pin. So I guess he was told he had to do a job. I don't know why.
So,
And then
he was in there telling everybody that what I do is a joke and it's fake.
no, what he did here was a joke and a fake.
Right.
But he can really wrestle.
Sure.
I don't know.
This is just
It's
atrocious.
just like a dumb idea on paper.
And then Vince Russo, who's been in the company 2 hours, had to get his name
Yes.
out on the airways.
Yes.
To
Dude, he's Dr. Claw in like 2 weeks. He's coming.
Yep.
He has risen. This was atrocious.
he just
Gotta be a better word for
he
that.
just wanted to be on TV.
Risen from
He just
the
wanted to be a
depths.
character.
He's risen. Yeah, from the
This is
depths.
Risen sounds like something the Lord
I'm
would do.
really surprised.
Well,
you're
he
not more
wrote that
angry with
religious book.
And he did, didn't he? I'm sorry, Craig, what was that?
this. I'm really surprised you guys aren't more angry with this.
Dude, I watched it 19 years ago.
It's
I'm
And?
long since over it. It's dumb. It's really it's stupid.
It's dumb and it sucked.
Yeah. And you know what it was? It was one of those things I'm sure he wanted to do on Raw 1,000 times, and Vince shot him down every
Exactly.
single time.
I'm sure that happened.
And so he had his opportunity here.
No one. I have no control. No one to answer to.
Remember when he was
No filter.
Remember when he was in WWE and Vince McMahon finally threw him a bone and talked about how he wrote a story in Raw magazine?
Kind
The
of.
only time he ever got any mention on WWF magazine.
I mean, to be fair,
television.
I think the storyline is that all of these matches are real, but Russo told Buff that he had to lay down he had to throw a match tonight. That's what the story is supposed
That's still
to be.
stupid.
It's fucking idiotic.
Dumb.
Security finds the outsiders. I think Nash threw up.
Yes, he did.
Oh, fuck. This was worse than the Buff Bagwell and the Parka match. Eddie Guerrero and Chavo Guerrero and Saturn in an elimination three-way.
On paper, this should have been a good match.
Fuck, I didn't even know it was elimination until...
Like 3 minutes in, I was trying to figure out, is it a tag match? Are Eddie and Chavo friends now?
Well, I knew it was clearly a three-way, but then there was a spot where Eddie pinned Saturn, and I'm like,
That's like 10 minutes in.
Thank God it's over.
Yes, I
and
know
then
that
they kept wrestling.
Yes, that happened. So Shane Douglas is on commentary. I thought on the whole he was pretty good. Although there was one point where he said Benoit and Malenko are on a respite in Japan.
He seemed to be not in the best state of mind, I thought.
That's
I
possible.
could be wrong.
That's possible. I enjoyed him for the most part. There was that one line. So for like a minute, this was just Saturn suplexing two small dudes, and I thought, okay, this rules. And then it wasn't that no more, and they just kept on going and going and going. And stuff.
Let's talk about this stacked up superplex.
The stupidest.
goodness.
This may have been stupider than the match with no mats on the pay-per-view.
Why did Perry Saturn get on the second rope for this?
So
That was the whole problem.
So Chavo is going to superplex Eddie into the ring. And now we've all seen 2,000 times the third person will run up and powerbomb the dude doing the suplex.
And they stand on the apron while they're doing it.
They stand on the mat. Yes. Saturn comes up behind Chavo. Chavo and Eddie are basically on the top rope. Saturn comes up behind Chavo and stands on the middle rope. So the idea is that he's going to be standing up on the middle rope with Chavo on his shoulders as Chavo does a suplex. What actually happens is he's standing straight up as Chavo falls back behind him and Chavo falls off his shoulders back onto his neck. I screamed. I promise you, in real life, it's one of those moments where Chavo thought he was dead because he immediately sits up and grabs his neck. Like, he should have stayed down to sell it, but he wanted to make sure he was actually still alive and can move all his limbs.
Perhaps Perry thought they were going to do a delayed suplex.
I don't know. So, it's
a delayed superplex?
A delayed double superplex.
double impact superplex.
I don't think that's...
I know. I was making
Whatever they had in mind, this
very
was not
dumb.
it. Now, so it's a horrible match. We almost have a death. Suddenly, the filthy animals are out there picking a fight with a one-armed Shane Douglas. His arm's in a sling. Keeps going and going and going. And then finally, Eddie pins Saturn with a frog splash, and I had the same reaction Brian did. Now, they did mention it was elimination at the start, but I forgot. So when Chavo just kept wrestling him, I was like, oh my God. Chavo hits a tornado DDT on Eddie. Looked like he was legit hurt, and they just went home.
He blew out his rib.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
in this fucking match.
That sucked.
Can you imagine? This Norman Smiley gimmick has started. He's a wimp. He's a coward. He's constantly crying during his matches, yet he wins constantly on flukes. Fans shouted boring. It went for fucking ever.
And Horace, by the way, I know it's the hardcore gimmick, but he beat the shit out of Norman.
Yeah.
And Norman responded by screaming, like, at the top of his lungs.
Well, that's the gimmick, yeah.
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 That's
So
going to get annoying.
I remember it being funny. We'll see how it goes.
For a while.
So Horace, the end is he hits himself with a chair and then put himself through a table and Norman pinned him. So Flair comes out. Now, as noted, we were earlier trying to figure out who was a babyface and who was a heel. The people started calling Flair old. So he started making jokes about the oldest driver with the longest line. And then they're in Philadelphia, so he starts healing on them with hockey references about how the old Flyers are much better than the new Flyers. Everyone boos. But then it's Ric Flair. So once he starts going all crazy, they get back at his side again. Mm-hmm. He calls it the Animals, so they just come out and beat the shit out of him.
Yeah. They run down, they beat the absolute hell out of him. David runs down, they beat the absolute hell out of him. Mm-hmm. And then they robbed Flair.
Yes.
On national television.
They stole his watch and his wallet and his shoes. Anything else they could...
At one point, Ray stole his socks. I'm sure they were expensive.
I was going to say, they're probably $300 socks. I mean, if you're going to steal a pair of socks, Flair's the guy to steal them from.
In a very uncomfortable moment...
Oh, fuck.
Lex Luger found Liz unconscious and unresponsive.
Yep.
And it led to nothing.
Well, it's a broken guitar.
Yeah, there was a broken guitar.
I missed that.
Yes, Jared is...
I didn't even see that part.
Jared is still beating up women with guitars, but he's not allowed to actually hit him.
Well, I'm sure Les said, fuck no, you're not hitting me with a guitar.
Which I'm sure is why the show starts to sink.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You can't show that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's all damn standards and practices. So I thought this is going to be a setup for Lex having an excuse to get out of the match. But no, he just comes out to fight.
Yep, came out alone.
It was not a very good match, but the heat was awesome.
There's a spot where Luger's getting the heat and Goldberg runs him over and Shivani says, Goldberg isn't a man. He's a machine.
He's Cage.
I thought Cage was 15 years old watching this in 1999. That had to be where this came from.
Probably was.
Back when he was not the size he is now.
No, he's smaller.
I bet you he's the same size.
No.
Actually, he's not.
I'm kidding.
No, not at all.
When he was in developmental.
Yeah, look at him like 10 years ago. He was I would say he was skinny.
He was the smallest guy in this room.
He was significantly smaller.
Yeah. So, and he had the he still has Wolverine sideburns, but anyway.
You noticed him more when he was skinny.
Yeah, because he was 20% of his body weight.
Yes.
So
now
there's
3%.
There's a ref bump in this match where like Goldberg's like whipped into the corner and sandwiches the ref. And the ref goes down, and Goldberg looks at him with such disdain, like you puny human. It's just an avalanche.
You little twerp.
Little twerp. So the Outsiders are on stage. Sting is hitting Goldberg with a bat. Bret is fighting with Sting in the ring. The match is Goldberg versus the Total Package. And Bret Hart and Sting are fighting in the ring. The ref is on his knees looking at them. As Tony Schiavone says, the referee is still down. He has not seen any of this. So eventually Goldberg hits a spear and a jackhammer and he pins Lex. At least there was a pin.
Well, Goldberg, Luger goes in to save Sting or something. And he puts Bret in the rack. And as he's racking him, yes, Goldberg spears him and then jackhammers him and gets the pin. Which was a cool finish. Fans are pelting the ring with garbage because they thought they were going to get another bullshit finish. And they actually got a finish, believe it or not.
Yes.
And the match itself, I would say a good 10 minutes too long. I mean,
it definitely.
If it went 12 minutes, it should have gone 2.
That's fair.
Yeah.
If it went 13, it should have gone 3. But fuck. Goldberg does not need to be selling for Luger. Or anybody. So anyway, the story of this show, again, is it fell off a cliff in hour 3, just like Raw nowadays. The difference is that back then, they made so little money off television that they could cut the third hour and still try to make their money off pay-per-view and all of those other things. Now, there's so much money in TV that WWE cannot cut the third hour of Raw. So we're fucking stuck. But you know what? In like 2 months, it's like 2.5 months from now, the show moves to 2 hours.
Before the end of the year.
Thank God.
It's going to change my life.
Thank God.
That's like finding money.
And we will never, you want to tell you something?
Better, it's finding time.
With the exception of pay-per-views that we review, we will never review a 3-hour show on this program again. You understand? If we start reviewing all the Raws, then as soon as it moves to 3 hours, I'm out of here. I'm not doing it.
Yeah, I'm fine with that. I think it's a good rule.
It's ridiculous. You ready for your music?
As ready as I'll ever be. I am sweating.
Yeah, I
It's
know.
warm in
So I
here.
took my clothes off. And now I can't get this to work.
The finishes on this show were no finish due to promo, clean pin in an inexplicable squash, 2 men pinning 1 to win the tag titles, clean pin after all sorts of interference and chair shots, pin after a lethal knee to the head, evening gown match just ends, submission after bat shot, pin in a worked match, 2 pins in a horseshit 3-way, pin in a hardcore match, pin after shenanigans in the main event.
Hey, good timing right there. Look at you.
Nice.
A pro.
It's like you time it.
He hits the spot every time.
We are at war.
Since you're a veritable granny.
I'm looking at my Nitro notes here. I seem to have written 50,000 words.
There's a lot to take in on this show.
WCW Monday Nitro 214, October 25th.
Okay, let me
1999.
begin here, please.
Please.
Okay, because they had a pay-per-view the night before. Are you aware of that? Halloween Havoc.
I recall, yes.
Okay.
Correct.
So, just for the record, I'm going to explain to everybody what happened at the pay-per-view in a moment, okay? But first, I'm going to read my notes for the first 10 minutes of this show.
Okay.
It opens up with no recap of the pay-per-view. None. There's a cold open, and Sting is looking for J.J. Dillon. Sting is in his street clothes. He's got his white tight shirt tucked into his jeans, which are cinched very tight. No face paint, and his new stupid haircut.
Sunglasses.
JJ, where are you? He starts throwing shit around. This is the man that just went to the Hall of Awesome.
Yes.
So Sting comes down to the ring. He says, I have a message for JJ Dillon. He says, I came out for a fight last week, and plainly put, I want to talk to JJ right now. I don't want to have to go back there after him. So JJ comes out, and this is what Sting says. There's been no recap of the pay-per-view. Sting says, last night I wrestled Goldberg in Las Vegas.
Right.
Goldberg? He says, I was trying to bail WCW out of a lousy situation because I came to defend the world title against Hulk Hogan. So in bailing this company out, I said I was in for a fight. I asked for a fight. I got one, but there's one catch. I never said anything about the world title being up for grabs. What? Sting says, I want my title back right now. JJ says, Sting, you're right. Goldberg won that match against you. It was not a sanctioned match. Goldberg is not the champion, but neither are you. Here I am thinking, wasn't it Goldberg versus Sid?
That was the plan, yeah.
Did I not watch weeks of build for Goldberg? What the fuck is happening
was
here?
the advertised main event, yeah.
You're all right, Brian.
So JJ says,
This is good.
you have been stripped of the title, Sting. The powers to be
We'll get to that.
have determined that you should not be champion. And they are doing a 32-man tournament starting tonight to determine a new champion. The powers to be, not that be, to be, have put you in the tournament. And Sting says, well, give them this message, and he attacks JJ. Goldberg rushes down to make the save, and they brawl.
Now, you left out why they stripped him of the title. They stripped him of the title because he threw down the ref after the match.
Because Goldberg left with his belt.
I see.
So he was screwed.
Okay, so for those of you that are completely baffled, as I was at the
Sure.
end of this recap, this is what happened at Halloween Havoc. It was supposed to be Sting versus Hogan. Hogan came down to the ring in street clothes. It was a shoot brother, and he laid down for Sting. So they never had a match. And apparently that's what Sting's talking about. He had to save the company because Hogan didn't do the match with him in the main event. So they did in fact do Sid versus Goldberg for the U.S. title. Sid was destroyed. He was massacred. He was bloodied. He was killed. And Goldberg beat him for the title.
Via ref stoppage.
This led to an impromptu match in the main event because they needed to save the pay-per-view. And so Sting faced Goldberg in a non-title match. Goldberg won, was announced as champion, but then Sting shoved down the referee after the match, and they stripped Goldberg of the title, and they stripped Sting of the title, and they announced a 32-man tournament, which begins here tonight.
Because Sting threw down the ref. That doesn't happen every Monday Nitro.
Yeah.
This was so stupid.
Yeah.
How can you open a fucking show and not tell everybody what happened at the pay-per-view,
Well-
and then talk about it like everybody's seen it?
Well, if you were a moron, it would make sense.
Well, they need a continuity editor.
The number of people that were buying WCW pay-per-views at that time,
Tens, I'm sure.
it was like maybe 100,000.
Wow.
There's still millions and millions of people watching TV. This fucking moron thought everybody must know everything that happened at that pay-per-view. They must have got on the internet. Fuck. I wrote a goddamn book about it. I didn't know what happened. I had to go back and look it up.
Mm-hmm.
This was so annoying.
Okay, let's talk about powers to be.
The powers to be.
Now, I don't know if they wanted to copyright something and they couldn't copyright powers that be.
I think they just kept fucking it up.
Or are they just morons?
Yeah, I think that's
Do
more
you know what
likely.
powers to be means? It
That means to be.
like they'll be powerful someday, but they're not
Yes.
powerful right now.
Yes.
The powers to be. They said over and over and over again. A handful of guys, I think in their head, they must have thought, this can't be right. I'm going to say powers that be.
Yes.
And they said it the right way. But
Yes.
no, powers to be is every bit as annoying. I assume it's every bit as annoying as World Cup to determine the best in the world.
Ah! That's worse.
That's pretty
All
bad.
right. Tony is now in a suit with slicked back hair.
Looking sharp, by the way.
Why wouldn't he be?
Well, we got to turn the show around.
Well,
Put them in a fancy outfit.
So they go through what happened at Halloween Havoc, and Heenan points out
Finally.
Sting is totally in the right here. He bailed out the company, and they screwed him and stabbed him in the back.
it's true.
That's exactly what happened.
Yes.
They actually have brackets for this tournament, which stunned me.
Well,
Kinda.
they have brackets for one portion of the 32-person tournament.
Yeah.
There are 8 quadrants, or 4 quadrants.
4 groups.
They have one quadrant here so far.
That's how it's done.
And in the quadrant,
NCAA
they don't
tournament.
even know who one of the people is.
There was a mystery of entry, that's true.
I'm like, well, why do we do another fucking quadrant where you know all the people in it? Why do we have a fucking question mark on the screen?
Well, that's how-
Not only that, they have these brackets. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm with you.
Okay. They only had one size font. This is what the brackets read. Are you ready for this? Luger versus Steiner.
Package versus
Which Steiner?
Didn't say.
Because they ran out of fucking room.
Or did...
Then it says DDP versus D Flair. D Flair.
Yeah.
D period Flair. Question mark versus Medusa, who's not a man in this 32-man tournament.
Thank you, Brian.
And Kidman versus Conan.
You know what's funny? I actually screen capped this. I'm looking at it right now. They did have different fonts because total package is spelled out.
Oh, no!
It's not even T package. It's total package. T package. It's total package. And then just Steiner. Charlie Steiner.
When I saw Steiner, I was so mad. I was like, which Steiner is it? Is it that hard? You couldn't put R Steiner? You put a fucking D before Flair.
Oh, God. So that was the brackets.
Then the powers to be,
The creative team.
the
they
creative
say.
team have alerted us that the outsiders must wrestle tonight. Nash is alerted. He says, I've retired. Hall says, I wrestled last night at the Crazy Horse. Nash says, I have no gear. I'm not even wearing underwear. But, they say, we have something that rhymes with gear. It's beer!
They were even more excited than you were.
They came to the building
The show is not
to
boring.
drink.
It's not boring. There's a lot to take in.
It's awful. It's not boring.
Did we mention that one of these first round tournament matches is going to be Goldberg versus Bret Hart for the U.S. title?
Oh, yeah.
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 Goldberg is
I
U.S.
didn't mention
champion,
that
if you had
one.
forgotten.
Yes.
Oh, we said the night before. That's why I didn't know. Yeah. Just keep that in mind. Mike Tenay interviews Norman Smiley. Norman says, I'm facing Bam Bam Bigelow tonight. Obstacles and utensils are amusing to him, he says. But tonight is my chance to show I'm a scientific, technical wrestler. I'm the toughest man in WCW. Watch and see.
Yeah, and that's the thing
He's
about
got
this,
a character now.
the thing about this
A
tournament.
nerd?
The thing about this tournament, they just randomly insert gimmick matches. This is a tournament match that's going to be a hardcore match.
Well, we'll get
This was a tournament match?
Yeah.
Yes.
It's Bam Bam Bigelow versus
Actually, it
Norman
was.
Smiley.
Yeah, I wrote that down. In a tournament match. Can you imagine?
So,
It was a minute long.
A hardcore
a minute
match.
25. I actually timed it.
Sorry.
So Bam Bam comes out with geeks and a cart full of weapons. Norman comes out. He's not happy to see this. And Bam Bam says, since you are a scientifical wrestler, I challenge you to a hardcore match. Norman did not accept this challenge, but Bam Bam just started hitting him with shit, and the ref said, okay.
Can you imagine booking a 32-person tournament for the World Heavyweight title, which they claim dates back to 1905, and your first match is Bigelow versus Norman Smiley in a 1 minute and 25-second hardcore match where Norman Smiley, with a trash can on his head, falls into Bigelow's balls, does a big wiggle, and pins him.
You're
How could you possibly care?
you are over giving this too much credit.
In what way?
Bam Bam puts the trash can on Norman's head. He's beating him, and he stops to pose or whatever. He turns around, and Norman takes a step out of the corner, and they bump into each other very softly, and Bam Bam Bigelow is killed. He falls over
knocked
dead.
out.
Then Norman falls over and trash cans him in the balls. Then he takes the trash can off. Then he does the big wiggle. Then he tests to make sure Bam Bam's dead, and then he pins him. Yeah,
Horrible.
absolutely horrible.
Hideous.
So not only is it a total joke, but we have the first winner in this World Championship tournament, and then for the first time, I think I get to say this, it's to the back.
It was to the back.
Now,
There's a much worse one later.
Yes.
Oh yeah, I'm
A criminal to the back.
I'm
later.
sure. Now, it wasn't Mike Tenay saying to the back, but we did go to the back to Mike Tenay. He's interviewing the outsiders. Nash insists he's retired, says for some reason they can't talk till the top of the hour. And when they got to the building, that earlier skit with the cooler, they were talking to Mike Graham. Here they buried him. He's not their boss, and how small he is, and like anyone watching Nitro in 1999 knows who Mike Graham is. We had a recap of Flair at the pay-per-view attacking the
Holy
filthy animals.
fucking shit. This was the filthy animals burying Ric Flair in the desert.
Yep.
Yeah.
Little uneventful.
So for those of you that don't know, the first thing that Russo wanted to do was retire Ric Flair. This right here, I swear to God, was Ric Flair's retirement at the time. The legendary Ric Flair retirement was being buried in the fucking desert by the filthy animals. They were going to keep him off TV. He wasn't going to wrestle anymore. And eventually they were going to bring him back as some sort of authority figure. That was their plan at the time with Ric Flair.
Yeah. So he attacks them, he molests Tori Wilson, and then they kidnapped him. It's 24 hours later. Ric Flair is still kidnapped. The animals come out for a promo. Kidman now has a camera gimmick, and I don't know how many millennials we have listening, but if you saw this, you would howl with laughter at the equipment this man had to carry to make videos. So, Eddie,
Ray threatened to hump the Revolution like the dogs they
I'm
are.
going to go through all of this. They said so much shit here.
Ray threatened to hump the Revolution like the dogs they are?
Yes.
That's what he said.
He humps dogs?
No, they are dogs.
They are dogs.
But Ray's going to hump them.
Ray says, we're going to hump you like the dogs we are.
No, he said they are.
No, he said we are.
Get out of here.
Does it matter? Ray's humping a dog.
No.
That's-
He's something like a dog.
No. He's going to hump them because they are dogs.
Wait, that's a new one, isn't it? That's different than what we started with.
No.
Anyway.
He's going to hump the Revolution like the dogs they are. He's going to hump them like dogs. He's a dog humper.
Okay.
That's what he fucking said in this promo. Am I wrong?
No,
I'm right.
You're actually right this time.
Thank you.
Rey Mysterio, dog humper. Vinny is hit the wall.
Carry on for a bit.
He's going to die.
All right. That's not the most ridiculous thing anyone said in this promo.
My emergency calling. I'm going to get it ready.
Eddie says you can book us against each other all you want. You'll never break us up because it's Conan and Kidman later.
Right.
Billy Kidman introduces a video which is shown on the big screen of the animals carrying Ric Flair through a field, saying they can't let anyone find him. And then the burying is they kick dirt on him. Mm-hmm. Billy Kidman...
That's a burial.
So Tori's filming. There's like a blade of grass, like it's like sort of by Flair's hip. And Billy says, Tori, make sure you get that thing poking out of his butt. They challenge Harlem Heat later, and Kidman's like, you think you're bad? We'll show you what bad's all about. I have never been less intimidated in my life. Billy Kidman trying to act cool and tough is the biggest shit show. Somewhere in here, Ray didn't indeed threaten to hump people like dogs. Mm-hmm. Conan.
Oh, he admits it now.
Conan says, when the animals are in heat, somebody's dead meat.
Yeah.
I defy you to name a worse catchphrase.
It's bad. They're going to fuck him to death.
So who should come out to
like dogs?
Who should come out to put a stop to this? But Dean Malenko and Perry Saturn carrying some kind of thing and wearing banana yellow gym shorts.
By the way, speaking of wearing, Tori's outfit was tremendous.
At this point.
And Conan was dressed like Pitbull.
Actually was. That's true. So as the brawl is going on in the ring, the camera is just focused on Tori backing away from the ring so her ass can be on TV with her booty hanging out at the bottom for like 15 seconds. And there was a point to it. Eventually Shane Douglas shows up and Asia's with them now and they kidnap Tori and left. Holy shit.
Asia's in these super high heels. Trying to run up the ramp carrying Tori Wilson. I have no idea how she didn't break both of her ankles, ACLs, legs.
How many
MCLs.
people have we seen fall down that ramp coming out?
Dude.
Okay. We'll get to that later. All right. To the back. Tenay interviews Curt Hennig, who also talked about the powers to be. So they've told him, you are on the bubble, Curt Hennig. If your shoulders are pinned one time, you're fired.
Yes.
So apparently the West Texas Rednecks are no more.
Yes.
Still the same music, but otherwise he's got his old wrestling gear on. No mention of the Wyndhams or Bobby Duncan. They're all just gone.
Tragic.
Hennig says, when I retire, it will be my decision, not anybody else's. Now I have a reason to be number one. They want to get rid of him. So the first time he is pinned, he must retire.
Mm-hmm. Never mind, they could, as you've established, you can just fire Flair or make him retire. You're in fucking charge. Just don't book him.
There's a bigger issue, but we'll get to it.
Oh, there is, and you are right. The Outsiders are drinking coffee
to sober up.
Well, yeah. Nash says the censors better have their fingers in the buttons. They argue about what the delay is. Hall says it's Big Papa Pump rules, a 7-second delay. And then they asked, who are we working against? That was the quote. Curt Hennig versus Lash LaRue. Disco Inferno goes out to do commentary.
Remember last week where Lash LaRue pinned Disco Inferno?
He pinned somebody.
He pinned Disco Inferno.
You mean, I forget.
And then Curt Hennig comes out here this week, and he beat the shit out of Lash LaRue. It was glorious.
It really was.
Your number one contender to the Cruiserweight title, by the way.
He destroys him. Lash goes for his finish. Hennig just hits the ref for the DQ. Because you see, the powers to be won't fire him if he loses via disqualification or count out or any other manner, as long as he doesn't get pinned. Mm-hmm. This is so stupid.
Yes.
Yeah. This is a show for brain dead people. So Curt beats up Lash LaRue and Disco Inferno with chairs. The Animals are backstage hunting for Tori Wilson. Bret Hart arrives. He can't walk.
No.
We're supposed to believe he's going to wrestle later.
His leg is broken. He's got a hairline fraction of his ankle.
Yeah. The Nitro girls are out in the ring.
Actually, what we had was the Filthy Animals looked for the Revolution. Bret arrived. Goldberg's tying his boots. Then Nitro girls bullshit.
Yeah.
4 segments in like 10 seconds.
I am done recapping every 4-second thing that happens on this show.
I'll do it for you.
All right. So they're out there talking about the Nitro girls finalists. They'll be so hot to make you happy, Kimberly said.
Where the hell is Stacy?
I should be in the finals.
She was hanging out with those Filthy Animals last week.
She was.
Right.
Now she's gone.
She's gone.
And by the way, did you notice that Ricky Rackman has not been fired? He was actually in the video when they showed the girls dancing.
Did
really?
Not notice that.
Yes.
No. So the finalists are out here dancing, and then Jeff Jarrett interrupts. He kicks all the women out of the ring.
He says, you have to leave or I'll stroke each and every one of you.
He did say that.
Including you, Kimberly.
Yeah.
Like maybe she might be exempt from the stroking.
Yeah. Then he said this title tournament is a big work. He's going to be the next world champion. Buff Bagwell can't stop him. The total package can't stop him. Says Lex Threatens to put him back in the Lex Express. Says he owes him an apology. I did not take Liz out. I do not appreciate being accused of anything. And Shivani says, we all saw Jarrett hit women with guitars before he got here. Implying, of course, that everyone's watching Raw. Little did I know how many times the letters WWF will be said on the show.
Mm-hmm. Oh, my God.
That's edgy now. It's talking about the other guys. So we had stills of Sid Goldberg. As mentioned, Sid was a bloody mess, so they never showed his face. And then the interview they showed here was done in black and white. So Mike Tenay said the match was horrific. I bet he's right. Sid insisted the war is far from over.
Dude, they show this footage, and the way they're talking about it, it's like, well, Sid's going babyface.
That's what you think.
They're talking about how he just got beaten, but he kept coming back, and he was beaten, and he wouldn't give up, and he kept fighting until the very end. So then they go to the interview. It's in black and white because Sid's bloody. And Sid says, I don't care about respect. It was a battle. The war is far from over. Might not happen tonight or next week or the week after, but when Goldberg least expects it, I'll be back. He does his crazy laugh.
Yeah, it's better.
Clearly, they're not turning him.
Not right now.
Who's writing this?
Morons. First round match, Perry Saturn versus Eddie Guerrero.
Okay, so I didn't check, but the very first spot of this match, Saturn is telling the filthy animals if they don't leave, they'll never see Tori again.
Yeah, they'll kill her.
He's facing the animals on the floor. Eddie fucking flies in and drop kicks him right in the knee, which bends sideways the way it's not supposed to go.
Right.
Saturn goes down, fuck! Grabs his leg, and they worked it over the rest of the match. I presume he's okay. But, like, if he tore out his knee on that spot, I would not be the least bit surprised. That was brutal.
Yeah. Well, he did a lot of stuff. If you tore, this was not Tegan Knox, who could not wrestle anymore. Saturn did all the same stuff. So David Flair runs out with a crowbar. He whacks Eddie in his bad ribs. A second passes. Eddie sells. Dave throws him in the ring. Saturn hooks the rings of Saturn for the win. The outsiders say it's almost time. Nash threatens to strip naked to get out of the match. The gimmick is he's lazy.
What's funny is I look at this stuff, and David comes out with the crowbar, and remember Crowbar comes in?
Soon, yeah.
Yes.
And, like, Lance Storm comes in and wins all the titles, and we've got, like, huge erection, and we've got the
Some of us.
David Arquette title win, and I mean, I'm just thinking of all of this stuff. Mike Awesome and Vampiro and
Clowns come back.
The Clowns, all of this shit. This place is only around for another year and a half.
Yes.
Like, it's inconceivable.
That much can happen.
Goldberg
In 18
ending Brett's
months.
career. Chronic. Oh,
Mike
my
Awesome.
fucking God. The what the hell were those? Jindrak and O'Hare?
Oh,
Yes.
the Natural Born Thrillers.
Fucking A. There's so much shit they're going to pack into
6
a
years
year and
worth
a
of
half.
stuff in the next 18 months, yes.
Mike Awesome and his awesome mullet and his bus.
And the bus, the fat chick Thrilla.
I'm sure we're forgetting something obvious, too.
No, we're forgetting 50 things. That's my fucking point.
So the Revolution has Tori tied up in a storage locker.
They'll never find us here.
Shane Douglas looks around. This is a great hiding place. They'll never find us here. I laughed and I laughed and I laughed.
Okay, so
Shane Douglas as a character on Nitro was so awesome.
he is pretty good. This is immediately followed by Malenko going to get something.
He has to pee.
And he's jumped.
That's the storyline. I gotta take a leak, he says.
He's jumped by Chris Benoit. Okay. All this shit is like a vague memory, okay? Except this. I must have watched this 1,000 times back in the day. Chris Benoit beats the shit out of Dean Malenko. They're surrounded by cardboard boxes.
Yes.
Chris Benoit gives Dean Malenko a whip into, like, a stack of cardboard boxes. Malenko hits the boxes and just slumps down, and, like, cardboard boxes fall on his head. Benoit was so good at delivering a beating that he looked like he just ended Dean Malenko's career, whipping him into those cardboard boxes. Yes. I watched it over and over. It was the most glorious beating. And he didn't do a thing to the guy.
He whipped him into cardboard. So he also locked the Revolution in their locker so they could only watch this as he beat him and beat him and beat him. This beating went on longer than most of the first-round matches in the World Title Tournament.
And was significantly better.
That's also true. The Outsiders come out for a promo. It's not even a match yet. They're just there for a promo.
No, they're just there to chit-chat.
Talking about the bosses from up north, the big shots at TNT. Nobody tells them what to do. They're going to get censored, and then Goldberg interrupts from the crowd. And Goldberg, it's a short promo. He warns them he hasn't forgotten, and they're next. All I got out of this is that Bill Goldberg's freaking enormous.
He's gigantic.
When you see him next to normal humans, holy shit.
Allow me to talk about Randy Savage here.
Okay.
Randy Savage and Gorgeous George are back. Randy Savage is wearing a glittering red suit and a glittering red hat.
I think Bobby Heenan saying it looks like Elton John on a date.
This is what happens in this promo, everybody. Someone wrote this. Randy Savage comes out. He mentions Vince Russo by name. He says, if Russo hopes I'm going to make an ass of myself in the ring, it's not happening. I'm well hung. What the fuck does that have to do with anything?
Well, he did have a line about everyone in the back was hoping he hanged himself.
I see. He says, you won't be able to punk me out like you did to Hogan and Flair. I ain't no punk, bitch. He says Hogan and Flair are played out, but he's on hit and legit. He's been better than the best for a long time. He's got too much money in the bank to be punked out by punks. He's won world titles in WWF and WCW. Tonight, he says, the Macho Man will pass the torch. I will pass the torch tonight to the next superstar who will lead us into the millennium with record-breaking ratings. And now we're out of here. He left, and Bobby Heenan says, who's he passing the torch to? And you know what? We never fucking found
valid
out.
question.
He just left. Never to be seen again.
By the way, Savage said all this. He said, I'm not coming out here to make an ass of myself wearing that outfit.
Yeah. The animals find the storage locker.
This is the midlife crisis, by the way, Randy Savage.
Oh, yeah.
To end all midlife crises.
Yes.
Absolutely.
That is
I'm sure he
He's
had a
out
Corvette.
there with a 21-year-old, wearing nothing, talking about his cock. It's just, what the fuck is going on?
He's a madman.
But you had a lifted truck.
I'm sure.
You live in Florida. That makes sense.
Yeah, okay.
So, the animals find the storage locker where the Revolution and Tory were, but they're gone. They were just in here, they say. They can't be far. They go running off.
Get him, Scoob.
That's close.
It's
close.
so bad.
Meanwhile, the camera crew can find them. The Revolution's having a meeting. Dean is sore because Chris Benoit beat his ass.
With cardboard.
Cardboard. Same thing. Dean, relax.
It's industrial. Industrial cardboard.
Relax, Dean. It's okay. Says the guy who wasn't beaten up.
Yeah,
by
Shane
cardboard.
Douglas here, the voice of reason.
Yeah.
Just calm down, Shane Douglas says. He's never been calm a day in his life.
First round world title tournament match, Medusa versus a mystery opponent.
Okay, as stupid as this is that Medusa's in this tournament, at least there was an explanation for it. And the explanation, I'm not making this up, Vince Russo wanted her to take all her clothes off last week, and she refused.
Right.
So he's sending out Ming to beat the shit out of her.
That's the idea.
That's not the idea, that's the storyline.
Yeah.
And as far as like intergender matches go, I mean, this wasn't bad.
This was actually, I would call this a perfectly fine wrestling match.
He stood there. She threw really fucking hard kicks. She kicked him in the arms, the legs,
The shoulders.
the
She's throwing
face.
elbows to the chest.
Nothing's working. Finally, she shakes her boobs, and he's distracted for a sec. She pokes his eyes. He lifts her up and carries her around by the ass. She slaps his hand off her ass.
Yes.
She slaps him across the face, and then he just tongue and death grips her.
Every once in a while, he would rear back for a chop, and she would cringe, and he can bring himself to do it. Because he's a gentlemanly monster Ming. And then by the end, he said, okay, fuck this. And he put her in the tongue and death grip and pinned her. And that was it. That was it. This was so much less offensive than watching what Viscera did on Raw.
He
on
did
Sunday night.
not throw one strike.
No. He didn't do one. She dumped on his back for a sleeper, and he threw her down over his head.
He used a nerve hold to put her to sleep.
Yes. So Evan Courageous runs out to check on Medusa for some reason.
Here's another storyline.
I have no idea what's
The
happening.
50th one on this show.
Yeah.
What do you mean you have no idea what's happening? Evan Courageous likes Medusa.
I guess I should say I have no memory of this happening.
Oh, I do.
He's Evan Courageous, MILF Hunter.
Malenko, at the same time, basically runs out to call out Benoit, challenges him to a last man standing match. The Outsiders are back on their couch talking. We're barely halfway through the show, by the way. Hennig bitches to Brad Armstrong about how dare they put him on the bubble.
This is so awesome. Kurt Hennig is with Brad Armstrong. Brad goes, powers that be told me that I've got no personality. Hennig goes, you? Brad goes, they told me to call my little brother and not come back until I have one. Hennig is shocked. Now, to be fair, like, people who knew Brad Armstrong said that he was fucking hilarious. And he was just overflowing with personality. He just never could show it in the ring or on television. So that was like an inside gimmick there. But it was funny.
He here said the guys from New York called him a hornyacker.
Yeah, that was used earlier, too.
And
Somebody else used
the
the term.
outsider said the same thing.
Yeah.
So they must have actually used this word.
Yep, hornyacker.
Hornyacker.
Brian, look that up.
I'll be happy to.
The doctor is checking out Bret Hart's leg, which, again, hairline fracture of the ankle.
Mm-hmm.
He looks at it and says, let's put some ice on it.
A fracture.
A fracture. A broken bone.
Yes, you put ice on that. It'll magically bring it back together.
He is sure to add, you really shouldn't be wrestling tonight. Way to go, Doc.
It's a good call.
God, there ain't nothing in the Urban Dictionary or anything about a hornyacker. Best I could find here is from Wrestling Classics. A hornyacker is one who blows his own horn constantly. That makes sense.
Manny Poffo.
Yeah. No, Vinny, you idiot. I'm disgusted. I've met him over many weekends. Super nice guy.
I'm sure he's a very nice guy. Yeah. First round tournament match, the total package versus, as it turns out, Rick Steiner.
Oh, finally we find out.
We didn't find out until the music hit.
Mm-hmm.
So, at the pay-per-view, the total package beat Bret Hart, thanks in large part to Bret's ankle injury.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, 24 hours later, Bret's the one who gets the U.S. title shot. What? Is this that hard?
Yes, Vinny, it's very hard.
Steiner, at the pay-per-view, I guess he beat Chris Benoit and won the TV title. They said he left with a belt.
Yes.
Which maybe he just stole it. Who
No,
knows?
that's the way it went.
But that title's not on the line here. So as they're trying to explain all this insanity and dislogic, Bobby Heenan says, quote, everything's just becoming apart here. Everything's unraveling. This is great. Just wait, dude. Jarrett comes out and joins the announce desk. By the way, Elizabeth, totally fine after being laid out with a guitar shot last week.
Sure.
So Tony and Jeff talk about the WWF a lot because mentioning them is edgy now. Jarrett starts to stalk Elizabeth. Package goes after Jarrett. Jarrett turns and swings the guitar. The package ducks. Rick Steiner gets hit with the guitar. Jarrett runs for his life. Steiner wobbles up the ramp. There's a world championship match going on.
By the way, all of this was right in front of the referee who did not call for the bell.
No. There's a world championship match going on. Rick Steiner walks away to get after the guy who hit him with the guitar. Lex is helping Liz to her feet when the referee's count hits 8. And then Lex lets her drop to roll back into the ring to win. I will admit that was at least funny.
Yes.
Not only was it funny, but like, she's fine.
Yeah.
Because she just gets up on her own.
Yeah.
But she's so mad at Lex for dropping her.
Yes.
And it's like, but you weren't hurt.
So yes, it sucks that they're making the world championship matches a complete joke, but it was at least a funny joke. I'll concede that. Oh, by the way, this all took less than 3 minutes.
Oh, yeah.
Mike Tenay interviews the Filthy Animals. Kidman threatens to end the careers of everyone in the Revolution. I laughed and laughed and laughed. And then it hit me, by the way. I think this is the point. I have been talking about how much the Revolution sucks for weeks now. They're feuding the Filthy Animals, who are no better, and I have no idea who I'm supposed to cheer for.
I'm pretty sure the Filthy Animals are supposed to be heels, but I think the Revolution are also supposed to be heels.
They beat up Ric Flair and left him in the desert, buried him.
Yeah.
The Revolution kidnapped their woman, but they're also feuding with Benoit, who I think is a good guy. I have no fucking clue. Oh, and also, Paige is involved somehow. Paige also hates Flair. I don't know. Buff Bagwell's at the building. You have been warned. First round tournament match, Billy Kidman versus Conan. They have agreed to put aside their differences and put aside their hunt for their missing girlfriend, or whatever, so they can go to work.
Well, two guys are going to go, one guy's going to stay.
They shake hands, they are friends, and then they start throwing punches, I swear to God, in 10 seconds.
Oh, I'm ahead of myself.
Yeah. So the ref gets bumped. Harlem Heat runs out. And
I'm lost. Where are we? What's going on here?
Kidman and Conan.
I'm behind because like Bagwell arrived. Benoit taped his hands.
I think you're ahead.
Nash's knee is killing him.
No, he's not.
See, I don't write down any of that
This is
shit.
Conan and Kidman, right?
Yes.
Where the fuck am I? Yeah, Conan and Kidman.
Okay. So Harlem Heat run out and just beat both their asses.
Yes.
Eddie and Ray say, "Hey, that's our friends," and they run down, and Harlem Heat beats both their asses. The Filthy Animals are total geeks. Kidman rolls over, pretending he gets the pin in less than 2 minutes. Why the hell are Harlem Heat not in this tournament? They're destroyers of worlds here. They're not. Yeah. There's 32 men better than this, really?
Yes,
they're a tag team.
These 2 men beat up 5 men.
They got 280 guys under contract.
So all the animals start shoving each other.
Only the cream of the crop is in this tournament.
Eventually, they cut a promo saying, "We'll find Tori, but first, we're going to challenge Harlem Heat to a tag title match. Priorities."
Conan said he wanted a title shot against these 2 Mark Punk Bustas.
Yeah, Punk Mark Bustas.
That's his favorite. He said it somewhere else in the show, too. The Outsiders are back on the couch wondering who their opponents might be. The Road Warriors, the Kangaroos, the Assassins,
Bushwhackers,
Butch and Luke. Bagwell comes out for a promo. Says he's going to relieve himself over everything sacred in this business. He will never do a job again for anyone. So what he was telling you is that he's telling you, the viewer, last week my match was fake.
Yes.
But now they're going to be real.
Yes.
Says this is especially to the 2 idiots in the back writing this crap. Because the show is written. It's not real. At this point, 2 large bald men arrived. Was this the Harris twins?
It was the Harris twins.
I completely forgot about this.
They've been around for a long time.
Not bald.
No, but
shaving their head fooled me.
Well, they were wearing suits, so you didn't see their arms and their tats.
I thought someone cloned the wall initially.
Yeah. So he says, "We represent the 2 idiots in the back that write this crap," and they killed him.
Yep.
That was it.
Sweet.
Malenko versus Benoit in a last man standing match.
So if you've been watching a lot of WWE last man standing matches lately, think about the stuff they do, like, you know, Roman Reigns puts a tractor on Braun Strowman, or all this crazy shit happens.
Sure.
These guys have a very good match for the amount of time they had. They're in just their jeans, supposed to be like a street fight type deal. They're having this fun little match, and all of a sudden they do a fucking double clothesline.
Yeah.
Benoit gets up and Malenko doesn't, and that's the end of the match.
End of that.
Yes.
7 minutes.
What?
7 minutes, and Dean Malenko cannot get up after a clothesline. Not even a Nikita Koloff Russian sickle.
No, they bonked into each other.
They crashed into each other. Benoit cannot possibly have done this at full strength. My favorite part in this whole match, and it was a great match, by the way. This is a lot of fun. About 2 minutes in, for the first 4 minutes, Benoit just destroyed him. And there was a point, they kept teasing the chop. And Dean would duck it, or duck out of the ring, or block it, or whatever. And finally, about 2 minutes in, Benoit hits one giant chop, and Malenko goes flat in his back. And Benoit turns to the ref and says, "Count." He wanted to win a last man standing match with a chop.
I got ideas.
I was sad. I was actually sad Dean got up. So anyway, Benoit wins. The Revolution comes out with Tori. No, the Filthy Animals run out first.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, who gives a fuck?
All you need to know is that the heels, or whoever, Revolution left with Tori, and the Filthy Animals split up. 2 of them are going to stay to defend the titles. 2 of them are going to go get her.
Content for the title.
We never see them again.
Yeah, never found it. Yeah. First round tournament match. Oh my god! All right, Brian Knobbs versus Sting.
Was this tournament match too?
Yes. It's a tournament match.
Fuck, I can't even believe these are tournament matches.
Okay, here's what happens.
Yeah.
Knobbs comes out first.
Whole match, Vinny. Tell him the whole match.
Sting comes out. His music's playing. He has his face paint on now. He got a fancy new jacket. He walks into the ring. He hits Brian Knobbs with a baseball bat twice.
Right in front of referee Nick Patrick.
He gets on top of
He had
him.
his back turned, to be honest.
No, he didn't.
No, he did.
No, he was looking
On the
right at
first
it. Not on the
shot.
second one.
Okay.
Not to mention he covered him with a bat. He's holding onto a bat.
He's holding onto a bat.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
The ref counts 3, and then the bell rings. There was never a bell to start the match. There was only a bell
No.
to finish.
No, yeah.
So
I ain't going to make it.
you can hit for reference. Everyone keep this in mind. You can hit a guy with a weapon before the match, and it's legal.
Right.
I'm gonna say it again. Write this down if you're just easily distracted. You can hit a guy with a weapon before the match, and it's legal. Mm-hmm. The Outsiders are arguing about who's going to start the match. Mike Tenay says there's a hairline fracture in Brett's ankle. Brett says he's just going to do his best. Harlem Heat versus Billy Kidman and Conan. So, after arguing 5 minutes ago about who the heels were, Harlem Heat was the heels in this match. They got the heat on Conan, and then Billy Kidman got a hot tag.
Maybe they are baby faces.
They just had a match against one another. And there was
All I
heat.
know, to cut to the chase, because we're gonna die in this reviewing the show tonight. The finish is a double pin. So Stevie fucking Ray does a German suplex.
It went as well as you would think.
Can't do a bridge.
Sure.
Kidman, who is suplex, does a bridge. Have you ever wrestled?
I have.
Okay, Craig.
Absolutely.
All right, so before the fucking match, the referee comes backstage and he goes, "What's the finish? Is there anything I need to know?" Well, Billy Silverman, Stevie's going to give me a German suplex. No, seriously. Stevie's going to give me a German suplex. And then you're going to count 1, 2. I'm going to bridge, and you count 3.
Right.
So he's pinned, but I'm not. Oh, I got it. Okay, yeah. Billy, you got it. Okay. That was Kidman's first mistake, to trust this fucking idiot. You've got to idiot-proof this shit. So they do the match. Stevie gives him the big suplex. Billy Silverman goes 1, 2. Kidman bridges. Holds up his count. Yeah. And he realizes he's an idiot, and he goes, "Ring the bell!" Didn't even count the third fucking pin. Is it that hard to do this fucking job? Don't defend this.
No, I'm not. I'm not.
And by the way, title changes hands.
Yeah, new World
Yes.
Tag Team
On that
Champions.
fucked up finish, they announced new tag team champions and to the back immediately for a Goldberg promo. By the time the Goldberg was by the time the promo was over, I'd already forgotten about the title change.
In hindsight, they should have gone to the back earlier so we didn't see the horrible finish.
Harlem Heat, who beat all 5 of the Filthy Animals, wrestled 2 men who had previously had a match and still lost.
Yeah.
We got to keep the show going. Come on.
We're almost done.
DDP and... Oh, we're not. There's 18 segments left. DDP and Kimberly showed up. She fucked Flair last week, but now she's just back with DDP.
Yeah.
Like nothing's happened.
Paige is mad at Flair, but cool with her.
Yeah. She's in an extremely tight dress. I have no idea how her boobs stayed in.
Tape.
I mean, you can actually, like, she's, it's cold in building.
I see.
Sure.
Yeah, and it's like right on the edge. It's impossible. Anyway, David comes out. He starts killing Flair with a crowbar.
A crowbar, you say?
Ref takes a bump. Kimberly lays across DDP. David calms down and leaves. Was there a match? Was there a finish? Was it a tournament match?
This was a tournament match.
Who won?
Don't know.
I have no idea. I'm guessing it's Paige.
Now, in the last match, one guy hit his opponent with a weapon and then pinned him. David hit the guy with a weapon, and then there was no match. Why?
Because this is the worst show of all time.
The
It's
fuckwits
1,000
putting
times
the show together.
worse than Raw.
It is much worse.
Here we go.
Here we go. John in Memphis called today. Your biggest fan.
Yeah.
He alerted me that one of the women in this match was Minka.
Yes.
Which, in fact, I do remember from that period. What I did not know is that Minka, he claims, is still performing today.
My goodness.
I would assume that's true.
48 years old.
Yeah.
Apparently, she was a tennis star.
What?
Well, you both know Adam Carolla.
That's how I know Minka.
Yeah, Adam Carolla is a huge fan of Minka. I heard the joke a million
How?
times on Loveline. I assume he's still telling the same jokes in his podcast, but he would explain when she tells the story, because as the number one Asian Big Boo Queen, she was a frequent guest on the show, or
Right.
at least notorious guest on the show, at least. But she tells the story of how she was a tennis player whose coach was the one who told her she should get into pornography. To which Adam Carolla replied, "You must have been a really great tennis player." Sarcasm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Anyway,
His delivery's better.
Yeah.
well, he does make more than I do. So anyway, there's 2 women out there, and then also a third woman who is Minka, and they're just doing a parody of a tag team match, and
Face and boobs, face and vagina, Flair flops. Crowd's going nuts for all of this.
yes,
Minka gets on the apron in a shirt, and it literally looks like she is wearing a giant front pack with twins.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's preposterous.
Yes.
You're probably underselling them.
Nash is flabbergasted. He just wants her to flash everybody.
Why?
And in the middle of this, Goldberg comes out. He spears Hall to death. He spears Nash to death. I believe the girls pin them as well. This was a mess.
This woman's performing from like a hospital bed, right? Because she can't walk around with those anymore.
Apparently she can. She's only 48.
Maybe tennis is good for the back.
It could be. I don't know the technology nowadays. Maybe they're mostly air.
If I'm a guessing man, I'm thinking like 60 pounds a piece on these bad boys.
No, it actually was on Boobpedia.
Okay.
I looked it up, and she actually there was actually a deal where she said how much each boob weighed. It was either 12 or 16 pounds.
There's no way.
Yeah.
They're not actually cement, Craig.
Do you think that existed?
I never knew.
Well, now you know. I didn't know either until today, but
Some research to do.
let's find out what they said they weighed. Go ahead,
You're
Vinny.
very critical we get this info.
Yeah, because 13.5 pounds each. She has a cup size reported as 55 triple K.
Oh my God.
But because she has a 23-inch waist and a chest probably in the range of 30 inches, that would actually make her bra size a 30P.
People spend a lot of time on this.
You should see how long this Boobpedia entry is. It also has a list of various films that she's been in, which even I can't read these on the air.
Granny's listening.
I mean, there is Best of Bosom Buddies. That's not too bad.
I'm waiting for more.
Boobs Ahoy. Monumental Mams.
What's that one about?
Well, Vinny,
Stonehenge.
Monumental Mams.
Oh. Main event. First round match for the U.S. title. Bret Hart versus Goldberg.
Tit attack.
Is Terry in that one?
That's the worst kind of attack. Or maybe not.
So, I'm dying.
So they're having a fun David and Goliath match. Bret is, of course, on one leg. He's a one-legged man in an ass-kicking contest. And it's Goldberg beating him up and stalking him.
Hold on.
Brian's checked
Hold on.
out. Why bother?
Brian, what'd you find? What'd you find, Brian?
Just
Share with the rest of the class, please.
keep reading.
No, you have to.
No. Just keep going.
Okay.
So, every once in a while, Goldberg... Come on. This isn't fair.
I can't read this on the air.
Craig, go read that.
Really?
I'm going to send it to you, Vinny. I'll text it to you.
There you go.
It's just so, like, they're not even pretending it's something else. I mean, Boobs Ahoy could be many things, but I mean, this
I'll
is...
quote it now.
Well, I mean...
Name 3.
I'm sending it to you. Go ahead.
No, I didn't say 2.
I texted it. Was I wrong?
That is... The only, now, we'll have to check this out and time it and see if it's actually 3 hours.
What?
Does anyone care about Goldberg and Bret at this point?
No.
Oh, who gives a shit?
So, ref gets bumped. The Outsiders and Sid attack Goldberg. They're outside saying, or the announcers are saying, Bret's on the floor. He can't see any of this. Like, his leg got hurt. His ears and eyes are fine as these 300-pound men are beating up Goldberg.
Let's just cut to the chase. Everybody comes down, bunch of shit happens, Goldberg gets fucking pinned.
Yeah.
Russo couldn't last 2 weeks without pinning Goldberg.
No.
Does anybody remember Goldberg's second loss?
No.
I fucking didn't remember till I watched this. Can you imagine?
Yes, because they're fuckwits.
He's out of the tournament. He's still kicked out at 3.
I'm going to delete that text.
And,
It's going to be difficult to explain later.
yeah, it's not boring, but it's fucking horrible, this show.
It is fucking horrible.
It is.
It's actually-
3 hours of fucking horrible.
3 hours of big. Brian, play my music and let's go home.
Okay, where's it at? Jesus. I'm dying.
The finishes on this terrible, terrible show were
The Duke of Knockers 2.
pin in a hardcore comedy match to kick off the world title tournament. Intentional DQ in 2 minutes for a guy who can't get pinned because he'll get fired. submission after interference, clean pin, count out after interference, pin after interference on both men, knockout in a last man standing match, pin after pre-match weapon shot, which I guess is just legal now, no finish due to pre-match weapon shot, which I guess is no longer legal, pin after interference.
Jesus, we had to go through the song almost twice. Wow. God, even more funny than the names of the various
Cinema
here are the names of the stars here. Penelope Pumpkins?
It's Halloween themed.
I guess so. Some of the names and the ones that I sent you. Anyway. Hey, everybody, we're out of here. It's been real. We'll be back on Thursday with Granny. Hopefully she's not... I warned her not to listen to Tuesday's show. So
It's a good idea.
Yeah.
No one should listen to the show.
She'll be back on Thursday, and everyone else is back this week. Filthy's back tomorrow.